In 1981, Steven Spielberg brought us a cinematic epic that, while inspired by tales of the past, redefined action heroes for a new, modern generation. Outrunning boulders and death at every turn, armed with a bullwhip, sidearm, and his wits, Indy's done so much for us, it's time to give back by talking over his body of work in a little something we like to call Indiana August, da, 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 on the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points in filmmaking. And also, guys, I guess this is a crossover with Direct Ears, the show where we pitch concepts and build upon ideas and whatnot. So, alright, guys, so we've gone through all the Indiana Jones films. We've gone through the best, we've gone through the worst. And now it's time to pitch our own. Now it's time to brave into a new uncharted territory and pitch an Indiana Jones 5. How y'all feeling about that? Y'all confident in your pitches?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not for the most part, yeah.
Alright,
Yeah,
alright.
like I said, we had the least amount of time to work on this out of all you guys.
Okay, well, you know what podcast is always confident about their movie pitches, guys?
What is it?
Be?
I have
It's
no idea.
the Movie Machine Podcast!
Big surprise.
That's right, folks. It's what happens when you take four funny people and improv a movie based on a random story generator really, really fast. Episode 26 just dropped today. It's called Kickstart My Heart. It's a rockin' robot action comedy starring Bruce Willis and Blue Dragon 5's favorite actor in the world, Michael Cera.
Oh, God. I hate when you sarcastic announcements like that.
Featuring Kyle Decker, Ben Lipson, Jacob Gulliver, and this week's special guest star, Becky Schmidt! Yeah!
Becky Schmidt.
It's not Kimmy Schmidt, it's Becky Schmidt!
That's
Right.
I like saying that name, Becky Schmidt.
Alright. So check all that out.
It's like
on
Red
the
Skulls
Movie
and Moose.
Podcast. It's hotchocolatemedia.net. Small text at the bottom of the screen. Blue Dragon 5 does not actually love Michael Cera. Okay, folks, so I am going to go ahead and start with this. My title is Indiana Jones and the Jewel of the Bay. Now, do we all want to kind of go round table and do our titles and general pitches and everything like that? Like, just get our title and general premise out there? Is that what we're doing?
Well, that was the plan, yeah.
Okay, let's do it. So, my title is Indiana Jones and the Jewel of the Bay. It is entirely set within San Francisco and the Bay Area. The mythical object in question is Al Capone's vault, which is now located within the catacombs of Alcatraz Island. And Indy must fight off a devastating and incredibly influential cult leader who's a mix of Charles Manson and, shit, what's that guy's name? God damn it. And Jim Jones! Jim Jones! The dreaded, Reggie Smith.
Reggie.
Reggie, yes, Reggie.
Oh boy.
Played by Jared Leto.
Nice.
Is that the villain's name?
Yes, the villain's name is Reggie, and I did name it intentionally after the snake that Indy had the quarrel with. It's a coincidence, but it's a delightful coincidence.
Whenever someone says Reggie, I always think of that that character from Archie, the Archie comics.
I think of Rocket Power.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I definitely drew from the inspiration from the snake that Indy encounters with Jock. Oh, that's just my pet snake, Reggie!
That's clever, I like that.
So Reggie Smith is going to be Indy's #1 antagonist, having drawn his own son, Mutt Williams, into a world of dark and devastating cult nightmares.
Is the Smith also a coincidence? Or
Is
that
Smith the callback to the original name?
Yes, it is.
Clever, I like that.
Reggie Smith. Alright, Reggie
Nice.
Smith, played by Jared Leto, in Indiana Jones and the Jewels of the Bay. Alright, Sandy and Jacob, what is your pitch?
Ours is Indiana Jones and the Lost Treasure of the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
You want us to go any further than that? And as far as detail, Yuki.
Just kind of a general baseline premise.
All right.
Your
Well,
setting and stuff, like whatever you need to get out before you get into the actual pitch.
Well, first things first is that... the main attraction is an island in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle.
Nice.
He's accompanied by his by his Hawaiian friend Leo. That's right, Leo. And the main antagonist
Leo
is...
played by Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Heck no!
Jason Momoa? Because
No.
apparently those are the only two Hawaiian actors we go to.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
We came up with somebody else.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. We'll leave it a mystery for now.
And his antagonist of the movie is a billionaire collector by the name of Derek Kenny.
Mm.
And the main attraction, a treasure which supposedly is housed with Noah's Ark.
Da da da.
So our main antagonist, it's kind of like Donovan in the third film, where he hires Indy to go find this lost treasure, which is rumored to be by people who have barely made it out alive many years prior to these events. Is rumored to be inside the Noah's Ark, as Jacob said. And then I don't know. I don't think we should go any further than that. I think that sums it up.
Okay, Dragon?
Okay, mine is Indiana Jones and the Healing Odyssey. The setting is 1967. That is 10 years after the events of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which was in 1957, which puts Harrison Ford at age 77. No, I'm sorry, no, 76. He's at age 76 in this, going with the 10 years later. And the movie is slated for, last time I checked, it was slated for 2019, which again, assuming the movie takes place during the shooting, it lines up closest we can get it. Here's the general premise. This is the last Indiana Jones story. He's in search of the source of the Fountain of Youth. Not the Fountain of Youth itself. We're going to find it's not exactly what kind of the books and the legends have written of that. It's a singular object that gives the youth, gives the fountain its youthful powers. Has a lot of roots in Greek mythology, and a lot of this is based on actual myth. There are a few liberties here and there, but I try to keep it as kind of accurate as, sounding kind of as down to earth actual myth as possible. Let's just say we go into a little bit of kind of some crossover of mythology, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Basically, Indy is Indy's basically he's kind of recognizing himself it's kind of Indy's journey to recognize himself that he's kind of become an icon and a legend through this adventure. It's kind of the general kind of premise of this film is Indy realizing by the end that he's going to become an icon and a legend. Thematically, it's Indy facing the changing times of the '60s, going through personal change as well. He's of advancing years. He's kind of questioning why he does this anymore. It's going to go really full circle, in a very meta way where he finds himself in. Again, it goes really meta, as kind of like the last Indiana Jones story, which I can't really elaborate on that until we get to the end. Basically, it's kind of going full circle in a very meta way where Indy is going to find himself in a Bond movie in the 60s.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
And
okay, that sounds great. I can't wait for that.
So here's the thing. It's like Indy, who is kind of in some ways, it's literally going back way back, because it's going to kind of the Spielberg kind of Bondian aspirations for Indiana Jones. It's basically Indiana Jones in a James Bond movie, and it's going to go even further back. By the very end, it's going to be Indy back in kind of the movie serial roots that he was directly spawned from. It's kind of going all the way back to kind of the inkling of the Indiana Jones idea.
All right, cool. So I guess with that in mind, we're going to round this out. We're going to do cold opens and then Act 1, 2, 3. Hopefully this won't take too long, but it'll probably be pretty detailed. So I will start mine off, guys. So I wanted to go with an image that kind of faded out from whatever main logo was going to be in there. Whether it was going to be Paramount or the Disney Castle, we don't know. But regardless, I want to keep that tradition alive, so I decided to go with some kind of fade-in that would work with both the Disney Castle and the Paramount Mountain to a certain extent. So I went with this, the entrance sign for Muir Woods, which is a carved-out giant tree trunk. And Muir Woods is where the cold open takes place. Muir Woods is just a few miles outside of San Francisco, and is where a few of our dastardly cult members have stolen a few of the jewels from King Tut's tomb. Dun dun dun. Now, guys, this is actually scientifically accurate. King Tut's tomb was actually on display at the D. Young in Golden Gate Park during this time period. So the fact that they do have King Tut's tomb on display is, so we do see the jewels are being stolen. And we have two people here. We have two cult members in particular. There's other cult members around, but we don't really zero in on them. We zero in on two in particular. We zero in on one played by basically kind of a walk-on sort of cameo-type role by Colin Hanks, who I cast Colin Hanks just because of the Dexter thing, where he kind of plays good with the cult thing. And Colin Hanks is kind of like he's gung-ho about the cause of the cult. He's gung-ho about, like, all right, look, we need to get these leaders back to Reggie so that Reggie can kind of, because we need. I'm going to tell you guys what the actual goal of the cult is later on in the movie. That's all kind of going to be revealed later. But basically, Colin Hanks is the one that is gung-ho about, like, we need to get these jewels back. And then we see Indiana Jones in shadow. His face isn't revealed yet, but who we see by his side? We see by his side an old friend, a lost comrade, someone who we've been learning for since Last Crusade. That's right, it's Sulla himself!
Yeah!
John Rhys Davies.
But
But there's something of a dark undercurrent behind Sulla's jokey demeanor. He's older, he's grayer, and he's more hardened than the last time we saw him. He's one of the last in a long lineage that continues to die off. Sulla is with Indy on a very personal mission because his son is in on the cult.
Oh.
And we see his son is being led around by Colin Hanks' character, and his son is... I'm sorry, I got the whole cast.
I'm sorry, clarify, it's not Mutt Williams, it's Sulla's son, right?
Mutt Williams will play into the story later on.
Okay, but this is Sulla's son in the scene.
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure. Okay.
The son is played by Dev Patel, and his name is Salazar El Kahir.
Nice. Wait, is that Sulla's actual last name?
I looked it up. It's Sulla's last name is like he has 4 last names, but that's like the last part of his last name. So
I was just curious. I mean, yeah.
So Salazar El Kahir. Salazar is kind of the one who is resistant to the cult. He's very nervous about the situation. He's freaking out about being involved in this, essentially the grave robbery, and the grave robbery being fucking King Tut's tomb. It's like you just robbed the most fucking famous grave ever, But Salazar, like I said, Colin Hanks is definitely kind of giving him run around. Like, look, this is for the good of the cause. Reggie's going to be so proud of us. You know how much Reggie's going to promote us. And they're staring at the jewels, and then Indy does a crack of the whip, takes the jewels from them, camera pans up, and we see Harrison Ford lift the hat up. There's our first shot of Indy. Kind of basically like right out of Raiders. He's snatching the jewels out of the bad guys. He's getting one-upped. Or he's getting a one-up on our bad guys. Steps out of the shadow. There he is. Older, grayer, more hardened, just like Sulla, but still the Indy that we know and love. Okay. So, Indy then kind of does a little bit of a whistle with his finger, and a horse comes running up to him. And Indy jumps on the horse. And then we have an Empire Strikes Back style chase between several of the masked cult members who emerge from the woods on motorbikes and Indy on horseback. And I say, I'm sorry, I don't mean Empire Strikes Back.
You mean Jedi?
I mean Return of the Jedi, yeah, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Return of the Jedi, because Return of the Jedi's speeder bikes chase was filmed in Muir Woods, so I kind of wanted this to be a callback.
Cool.
Indy is on horseback. We have these masked masked cult members who kind of are wearing these ominous kind of just skull masks. And they're just obviously trying to hide their identities and everything. And they're chasing after Indy on motorbikes, and Indy's on the horse, so it's very much like Indy is, part of the old era on horseback fighting against the new youth who are all on motorbikes. So, I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a juxtaposition right off the bat with that.
All right.
Indy gets a quick look in the corner of his eye of a very familiar face who he doesn't have a mask on, but his mask is a thick beard that he's hiding under. But Indy is like, I know that face. I know who. Oh my god. So we as an audience don't know at first. It's Mutt, but
Wow. We don't know this.
We as an audience don't know, but I'm just going to tell you guys, just for the sake of storytelling, it's Mutt. But at first we don't know. It's Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf is coming back in a very limited role. He's only going to have about 5 minutes of screen time, but he's going to impact the story in a major way. That's all I'll say about it. He's just kind of taken on the fully bearded look. You know, he's just completely covered his face, and but Indy still recognizes him for a brief second. And then Salazar and Hanks are still frantically retreating. They're retrieving the jewels that are on the edge of a waterfall. This is kind of Muir Woods is kind of like Yosemite, where they do have it's very mountainous, and I'm sure there's waterfalls around the area. So I didn't do too much research into that, but I'm sure you can find a nice waterfall to do something like this in.
Yeah.
Sala is basically kind of in shock that this is all happening. Like, he was trying to be jokey towards the beginning, but he's kind of looking on in horror as Indy corners them and aims a pistol at them. And, of course, Sala's like, no, Indy, no, it's my son, don't do it, my friend.
Nice.
And then Colin Hanks reaches out, takes a pill, chomps it down, and starts foaming at the mouth, and then he forces the pill into Salazar's mouth. And he forces it to go down Salazar's mouth as well. They both die protecting the cult's secret.
Oh.
Bam! Motherfucker!
Is that your ending for the opening?
No. I have a few quick things, but
Sure,
so
that sounds awesome. Keep going.
Okay, so Indy is looking down at all this. Sala is kind of like off to the side because Indy kind of got ahead of Sala with the horse chase.
Yeah.
So Sala's kind of off to the side, and then and the cult members. Wait, no, hold on. I'm sorry. Indy has the jewels in his hands, and he looks down and he sees a homemade explosive device, like basically a Molotov cocktail-like device, and it explodes, and it sends Indy kind of flying back. And the jewels kind of fly out of his hands, and they're retrieved by some of the other cult members who were joining them in the motorbike chase, and they rush into the forest frantically after retrieving the jewels. So the jewels are still in the hands of the cult.
Wait, where did the cocktail come from?
It was kind of hidden within the rocks.
Okay, all right.
So Indy retreats to Sala. Sala is basically in tears. This is John Rhys Davies' Oscar moment right here. He's like, "This is the end for me, my friend. We have truly reached the last of our adventures, Indy, because I cannot. I have to go home, Indy. I have to cherish what time I have left." And so Sala kind of leaves on an emotional end. A newspaper clip rolls out of Sala's hand that reveals that Salazar was Sala's son, in case the audience didn't pick up on that yet. And then Sala's like, "Promise me, my friend." You know, he says this very distressed. "This is one journey I cannot take, but promise me, Indy. Promise me you'll find the ones responsible." Indy is all battered and bruised. He looks out from the smoke created by the explosion, and with a real weary expression on his face, he says, "You and I both know I can't promise anything these days in the world we're living in."
Nice.
And then the camera does a dramatic pan up from Indy and Sala up the side of a mountain, revealing the Golden Gate Bridge, which is very geographically accurate because the Golden Gate Bridge is like 2 freeway exits away from Muir Woods. And so you see the Golden Gate Bridge off in the distance. You see Indiana Jones and the Jewels of the Bay. Bam! Cold open.
Nice.
All right.
Sweet. Right.
High stakes there. High stakes.
What do you got, fellas?
Yes, Andy Jacob.
Yes.
You're up.
Oh.
Is that your full story?
That's my cold open. That's literally my opening scene.
Oh, sorry, you gonna back and forth type thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All
I
right,
know, that's a
Jacob.
lot to set up in the opening scene. It's a lot to handle. Fucking evil Colin Hanks, right?
And you've been working on this since like June?
Yes.
My gosh. All
They
right,
don't
Jake.
undersell mine either. Okay, I've taken days. I've been focused.
Jacob, did you want to start the cold open off?
Yeah, okay, sure. I actually had a solution in case they do show for whatever reason show the Disney Castle as well.
Okay.
Like have a mountain range that kind of or a mountain that kind of looks like the shape of a castle almost.
Okay, nice.
But I had suggested beforehand that
And one of them is a volcano. It's actually a volcano.
because in our cold open here, Indy is about to explore a volcano, which the treasure he's looking for is inside the volcano. So he's heading up there. Take it away, Jacob.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, Indy, along with his new friend Leo, who is his guide.
He's like a local in Hawaii. He's in the '60s, which if you guys can't recall, the '60s in Hawaii was extraordinarily beautiful.
Yeah, it
Really?
also was right around the time that this was within the first few years that it was an American state, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Great,
And they had those old, those old really nice cars and the palm trees and everything. It was just beautiful, beautiful.
Real quick, are we all working with 67 or? Just,
I'm working.
do we
I'm
have
working
to
with
pick
the
60?
summer of 1967, smacking the summer of love.
All right, what about you guys?
We never really set a specific year.
How about 1962? I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, it's your call, man. But as long as it's in the 60s, it'll be fine.
All right.
Oh, one thing to keep in mind about 62 is that's like right around Kennedy's assassination.
No, Kennedy wasn't 63, wasn't he?
That's true. That's true. Kennedy's assassination kind of plays a role in my story, so that's the only reason.
I'm pretty sure Kennedy was in 63. That's all. So
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Sorry, go on. I didn't mean to interrupt. Guys, okay, so Leo. Do you guys have an actor attached to Leo?
Yes.
Who you got?
Okay, the actor we have is named Manu Bennett.
Oh, is that Deathstroke from Arrow? Mal Bennett?
No, Manu Bennett. He plays Crixus on Spartacus and Azog in the Hobbit trilogy.
Oh, okay. Okay, I gotcha.
Sure. It's
I
not
like
the
it.
same.
I like it. I can see it.
I could have sworn that was the same guy. Okay, anyway, sorry, go on.
So Indy, along with his friend Leo, they're in Hawaii, and he's on a voyage to find a lost tiki god of Lano,
Oh God.
the god of fertility, where it's hidden in active volcano.
Oh.
Okay, nice.
Okay. I like it. I like the setup.
All right.
See, Sandy, want to continue from there?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to tell Dragon that Manu Bennett is Deathstroke. Yes.
Yes, I knew it. I love that guy. Go on, please. Go on. I want to know more.
Oh, okay. 1 second. My thing here is playing stupid ads. All right, where'd you leave off, Jacob?
Like where he's they figured they're on the voyage to discover the tiki inside an active volcano.
Oh yes. So they're on the search for a tiki god of Lano. Did you say that already? The god for fertility and peace, which is hidden within.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
Going down the volcano.
Yes. So.
Which is about to erupt anytime soon.
Okay.
Yes. So they make it out just in time, and Indy convinces Leo to come back with them to New York to celebrate the finding of this rare artifact they've just uncovered, as Indy was in search of the piece for the Museum of Natural History for one of their new displays.
Not bad.
The theme is island treasures.
Okay.
Upon their arrival to New York, the museum hosts a banquet in honor of finding the ancient tiki god, and Indy is approached by one of the museum's donators and billionaire collector and Professor Derek Kenny. He mentions to Indy the lost island of the Bermuda Triangle and the treasure that's hidden within it. Kenny studies archaeology and ancient artifacts and mentions that there are only a few who have seen and been on the island, and judging by the ancient markings on the island, the natives from thousands of years prior to these events carved pictures of a large boat resembling what appears to be Noah's Ark. This, of course, gets Indiana invested, and he agrees to go look for the island as he could possibly find the Ark, which he has much interest for, all these biblical artifacts. That's our cold opening / Act 1 there.
Okay.
And I know it's kind of rushed and unorganized, but we didn't really have, since June to work on it.
No, I understand that.
That's basically. Yeah, I mean, I
Honestly,
can't really.
honestly, Dragon kind of came to me like last week, like, "Hey, Sandy and Jacob should get together on a pitch." I'm like, okay, but they haven't been working on it for months like we have.
Well, I assumed you told them we were doing the pitches and they were working on it individually so they could collaborate their efforts.
No, I just always assumed that it was just going to be you and me doing a pitch.
Dang it! I don't know which one of you to blame first.
Blame him.
Probably me. It's the blame always goes on me, and I'm always glad to take it.
All right. Well, listen, I really can't take a lot of. I can't really take a lot.
Don't say I'm not feasible for. I'm sorry.
I'm a glutton for punishment. Anyways, Dragon, do you want to go with your cold open?
Okay, here's my. I'm sorry,
and honestly, it's Sandy that came up with the brunt of this. I only helped in a few places, and I might just help him along here. But he's the one who came up with almost everything.
Okay, cool.
I just want to give credit where it's due.
Okay. All right. Here's the opening adventure. Here we go. Here's the cold open. So I'll mention just because you guys brought it up, I completely forgot, but I'm just going to come on the spot. We see a shadow of the Paramount Mountain against the kind of spotlight that's going on because we're in really kind of it's the dead of night. It's dark.
Nice. I like that dark mountain. Cool.
It's basically in shadow, and if you, whatever the deal is you have it in shadows to kind of homage to the mountain,
Okay, I like that. Leap.
Okay, so we open in East Berlin. It's East Berlin. This is the Russian-controlled side of the Iron Curtain, the Berlin Wall. There was East Berlin. There's West Berlin. West Berlin was the side we were friendly with. East Berlin is, West Berlin is the one we were cool with. That was one that Kennedy, before his assassination. I know this is in '67. This is way after his death. But
no, you have to keep in mind Kennedy's assassination is basically what kind of sparked the youth movement, which essentially peaked in '67. So the assassination was still very much on everyone's minds.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying that's still like the issue that Kennedy was very vocal. Like we gotta support the West Berlin.
Sure.
My point is, like, the issue's still going on even after, sparked the, like you said. Point is, we're on the Russian, we're kind of on the proclaimed communist side of the Iron Curtain. We're on kind of the side you really don't want to be caught on because they're more like shoot first, ask questions later. If in regards to the wall, you can't really go between the walls or else you're going to be shot at or detained or some bad stuff's going to happen to you. That was the main thing of the Berlin Wall. So. Point is that we see in this area, it's like close to the wall. It's like maybe like a block or so down from the wall. We see KGB forces just kind of walking around the place, whether it's for just for general kind of sweeps. I wasn't that familiar with the Pacifics if they had like kind of KGB soldiers walking. It was like they were in league with it was Russian controlled, so I assume maybe they had a few soldiers patrolling the area. So just add some bad guys to fight, and they kind of established to the audience that Russia was around there. Russian controlled stuff. I didn't want to do the Russians as the bad guys too much, but it's still kind of a hard balance to strike. We have Germans, you have Russians with getting the point across. So, you see some KGB forces. Cronkite's on the news with some Russian dubs or something. I'm sorry, some Berlin German dubs going on the screen. Basically, Cronkite's setting the period, just the exposition, just saying the conflict's still going on. We have the Berlin Wall to deal with. So basically, again, establishing for the folks just kind of what era we're dealing with here. Okay. And also setting the period. We're in '67. So let's see. So we're in this kind of spacious, kind of unoccupied apartment building warehouse, basically big spacious location, kind of like a warehouse, but it's tall. That's the idea. Like a tall building that's kind of like spacious, like a warehouse. We see two crates are hauled up these flights of stairs, and it's finally on like the top floor of the building. These two big old crates hauled up to these two crooks, these two East German crooks. They gloat about having come across Hitler's most coveted item in and the fact they were able to come across this and get it in their possession and all this Iron Curtain craziness is the reason they were able to kind of do it without any suspicion being arose, and the fact that we finally got our hands on it thanks to all this craziness going on as a cover. We're going to earn big bucks for this in the black market, essentially. And it's revealed, they unbox one of the crates. It's the Spear of Destiny, the big old item that basically this, I believe it's pierced the side of Christ, and mainly this led to Hitler's hobby of the occult, which has big roots in Raiders of the Lost Ark, of course. It's kind of like the whole thing with the Red Skull. It's like Hitler, kind of the Nazi science division, or in this case, he's interested in the occult, and this is the big item he really sought out, the Spear of Destiny. So let's say these guys got their hands on the Spear of Destiny way after the war.
Okay.
Okay, so they open this unexpected second crate. Wait, what's in the second crate? I don't know. They sent it up. Let's open it up. So they open up with a crowbar, and you notice it's revealed there are air holes on the side of this crate. Little air holes. So one thought kind of wanders off. He's taking in the sights or something. I don't know, he's kind of going off for a moment there. It's kind of like, okay, well, he's got a handle. He helped him get the heft of that there. He's walking off. The top's off. Through the Excelsior and the packing stuff, through all the packing streamers and the packing peanuts, whatever, a punch happens. Punch. The other guy discovers this. Oh my God! My guy just got punched by packing material. No, not packing material. The man reaches for. A man walks out of the crate. We don't see him in full. Just walking out of the crate. We see him, he's obscured, and you see him doubling back in the crate to pick up something. In the same motion as he goes to pick up something.
Yes.
As he goes to pick up something in a seamless action, with the other hand, he uses with one hand he's grabbing something in the crate. The other hand he basically has like a gun on his hip. He pulls for a whip to wrap the guy's hand, disarming him and wrapping his hand up. And with one finger, he lifts the brim of his hat, puts the hat on, lifts the brim of his hat, and we have the musical reveal. Dun 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 dun. The Indiana Jones reveal.
Nice.
And with the white moonlight behind him, like kind of white moonlight and spotlights all behind him too, just give it kind of a great, it's in the dead of night. Indiana Jones, he's back. He lifts the hat up, spotlight. So he pulls the thug close with the wrapped hand. Who he's just disarmed. He's disarmed the gun. He's wrapped his hand. Pulls him close, and in one action, he punches him right in the face. With the whip hand. So it's not even taking a hand off the whip. It's like just the force of bringing the guy close to him. Stomach punches him with the left hand. And he gives him a knockout punch, a real nasty knockout punch with the right hook yet again. But Indy hurts his hand on this hit though. And you see a little moment of his hands trembling and has really bloody knuckles. So again, Indy's getting up there. So again, he's being more strategic with his punches and everything, but he can't quite do what he used to do without some consequence. Anyway, so the other guy who he punched in the first place, that guy's not out cold. He just punched this. He knocked out this guy. The other guy he punched when he opened the crate. He goes for a gun. Indy tosses the crowbar they used to open the crate at him to disarm him, and he breaks the top of the crate over the guy's head. Indy grabs the spear. He fashions it into a strap on his back, so he kind of carry it just like a little almost like a weapon on his back or something. This guy's a little strap around it. KGB soldiers hear all the commotion, which kind of leads to a fight. A little generalized with some of the action here and there. So they get into a fight. Importantly, again, in the style of Henry Jones Sr., he's using his wits more to compensate for the age throughout the film, so he's more strategic with his punches, and basically he's a lot more because he also accounting for Harrison Ford's advantage, you don't want to get getting hurt or anything. You just want to just be careful. So basically, he's a lot smarter at this Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Kind of like Henry on the beach with the seagulls, that sort of kind of cleverness with this Indiana Jones. So he pulls the rug out from under the KGB soldier, kind of walking through his apartment at the bottom. And they're falling on their backs and stuff. It's kind of Indiana Jones in kind of predatory mode almost. Pulls the rug out from under those guys. He flips on the Cronkite television set as a diversion. They're looking for that while he kind of steps outside. He takes a few, in the altercation, he's trying to take out some guys. We don't see it on screen entirely, but we see he's taking a few body shots here and there. So the point is, Indiana Jones taking body shots at this age. Definitely some danger there. The point is, eventually through the struggle, he's able to swing outside the building. He gets back to the kind of the top level, taking the stairs. He swings out the window, but he almost doesn't make it. He throws the whip like a grappling gun almost, just to swing across the next building. As he's doing that, like right in the middle of the swing. Because he's been beaten up a little bit, his arms, his hand from that punch, they're getting really weak, so he almost drops to his death. He slides down the whip, holding like the grip of the handle at the very bottom of it. It's like a little moment there of, oh my God, is Indiana Jones gonna fall? Is he gonna kill himself here? So again, for all the sore bones in the hits area, like it's a lot more dangerous for Indiana Jones to go out and at this point. So he's going to fall from a height of a great distance. Anyway, so then basically he kind of does a pendulum motion thing so he can kind of get to the other side. Because right now he's right in the middle, and the guys just find their bearings inside as they've been beaten up with Cronkite playing. Basically, does a pendulum motion. Basically, he pulls out his gun. He shoots a few of the KGB guys, and with the force of the gun blast, he kind of finds his way so he can kind of swing across the building, kind of propel himself to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So he goes down the fire escapes of the neighboring building, goes down a few clotheslines. He's eyeing the Berlin Wall with the guards and the commotion going on. Like, oh my God, there's shooting going on over there. Because they can see Indy also kind of. He's getting ready to kind of make his move on the Berlin Wall, whatever he's going to do. So the spotlight's on Indy as he just seems to be just walking straight up to the wall. You're going, oh my God, what is he, nuts? He's walking like out of one mess into another. He's walking right up to the wall. Like guns are drawn, guys are like coming around, big spotlights on, purely white wall essentially. It's they tell him to put his hands on his head. He's putting his hands on his head. He turns around and gives a big old smile and basically stomps his foot a few times. Stomps his foot a few times, and then on like the third try, he then falls through the ground, and basically evades a lot of gunfire. They're about to shoot him. He just misses it on that third strike. He's gone down this tunnel that he dug in advance, and he covered up. So he was trying to fall through the tunnel. That's how he got in through the other side. So he emerges on the other side to drive away. The music plays dun 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 dun. As Indy remarks. He's basically getting on the back of a truck. He has some guy, like Jock, kind of like, not actually Jock, but like some guy just driving the truck, and he's like getting on, so you can kind of see him like hanging on the back of it, just remarking, I never thought I'd be happy to be back in Berlin again. Anyway, so Indy's driving off in the back of the truck, kind of almost like giving like a wave of like, hey, better luck next time, guys, almost that sort of thing. He's getting cocky. That's the idea. So looking back, we see as Indy's being driven away, just kind of waving his hair like kind of a little sigh of relief getting into the truck. We see through a POV of the scope of like a sniper rifle or something, and it's watching Indiana Jones. Like it's going with him as he's leaving. You think, oh my God, is it going to shoot Indy? Nope. It's like a gloved professional hand. We don't see who takes the scope. Again, homaging James Bond with the whole Indy James Bond shooting through the sight. Basically, he puts the scope away. It was only to observe him. It wasn't to shoot him. This guy's he's not fighting Indiana Jones. He's observing him. He puts the scope away very neatly into a briefcase. So he disassembles the weapon. He puts it away. He closes it and he locks it up. And as he locks it up, it cuts to ominous black. That's the end. That's the end of the opening.
Nice. All right. I really like the historical context, the Berlin Wall stuff. Really. It's great that you kind of work that in there, and of course the other stuff in the story is going to kind of be away from that setting, but really like that you work that in. Really good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think of the whole, like, he stomps his feet to escape? Because I was wondering how he was going to escape through the Berlin Wall.
No, I really like that whole call. It's kind of like what we've been talking about throughout Indiana August, about Indiana Jones being like, kind of being like the avatar sitting in for all these crazy historical events. So yeah, I really like the idea.
I researched all the ways people have tried to escape or have escaped the Berlin Wall. That's how I came up with that one.
Okay.
You guys are really getting into detail with things, like going as far as like what kind of punches they throw or something.
Well, man, I love the action pitches. I mean, I had to go a little general on this one because there's a lot of action with Indiana Jones. I just had to specify a few general things, but I believe I usually go into much more detail with the fights.
Yeah, we're definitely in for it.
Okay, you guys ready for my Act 1?
Tiki, this doesn't relate to yours, but we already did Act 1, so what would we do during this point?
Well, I mean, you were supposed to just do the cold open.
Well, I know that. Forget it.
Well, sit back and just comment on ours. Give us some feedback.
Okay, so do you want me and Dragon, like, I'll do Act 1, Dragon will do Act 1, and then you guys can do Act 2? You want to do it that way?
Sure, I guess so.
Okay, so I'll do my act 1. Dragon, he'll do his act 1, and then we'll circle back to you guys. You guys can do your act 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we had like a week to do this, but you know, I've had a lot of other stuff this week, so I apologize
You
if
don't
it's
have to
not.
apologize, dude. It's all
Oh, you
good.
guys got some cool ideas. I mean, there's
Yeah.
volcano stuff, and I'm
Yeah,
really
I like the
interested in that.
volcano. And I'm really intrigued by the
I
Bermuda.
love your casting of Leo. Does Leo come back at all in the story?
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
he's like we don't have a leading lady in this story. We don't have like any ladies at all. So he's like the main one of the main characters.
Guys, I can sympathize with you now because I have a few little minor female cameos. I wanted to have more women in this, but it wasn't relevant to the story, so I had to take
For
them out.
shame! I have like 5 main female characters. I have Short Round's wife. I have Marion playing the role.
Well, I mean, I have a few side wives, but I mean, I didn't give them a meaty role as I would have liked to.
I have Indy's sociologist friend who helps him with the psychology of the cults, played by Julianne Moore.
Mine's more like there are women there. That is all. That's pretty much all I got. So, hey, there are women in here. They're sparsed around. Anyway, go on.
All right. So my act 1, Indy is speaking at the Palace of Fine Arts, run by his sociology friend. He's going to help him later in the film figure out the psychology of cults, played by Julianne Moore, like I just said.
Nice.
Her name is Emma Ritter. I came up with. So basically, this is establishing Indy in a new point in his career where he is not a professor; he is a traveling lecturer.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean he goes abroad?
No, I mean he travels all over the world to all kinds of different campuses and colleges and
Like a traveling professor, then.
Yeah, well, no, not a professor, like a lecturer. Like he has a whole lecture that he gives on archaeology and adventures and whatnot.
Okay.
And he kind of frames the Ark as kind of the center point of his lectures.
Okay.
And so he's kind of living comfortable with the idea that people are, like, I don't know, it's kind of like a weird spot for Indiana Jones where he's all but hung up the hat, but at the same time he's got this personal thing where he's in San Francisco for a very specific reason, which is because, you know, of the Mutt thing, that he knew that Mutt went to San Francisco during the 1967 Summer of Love. He retreated there. And Mutt was having a lot of problems after Kennedy's assassination, and that kind of blew Mutt's ideology out the window. We don't really necessarily get a flashback of that or anything. It's just kind of implied that Kennedy's assassination was kind of like a breaking point for Mutt. Okay, anyways, so Indy is approached after his lecture by Enzo and Rizzo Capone. These are distant cousins of Al Capone. Enzo is played by Vincent D'Onofrio.
Nice.
And Rizzo
Love enough for you.
Capone is played by the lovely Kristen Schaal.
Okay.
They're kind of like a brother-sister duo, but Enzo is definitely like the older brother, and Rizzo is kind of like the baby sister.
Wait. The girl's name is Rizzo?
Yeah.
Oh, that's different.
I took it from Greece, honestly.
Oh, okay. I've never heard that name from a female before.
Draken, you could back me up, right? One of the main female characters in Greece is Rizzo.
I'm not the guy to go to on that one.
That's what I got. It just sounds like an Italian name that's kind of like a gender neutral, so that's what I went with.
Okay.
So Rizzo Capone. Indy is skeptical, but he only wants to come along with the Capones because the Capones are basically offering him just a pleasant dinner at their Italian restaurant just to do some chatting. No guns involved. No guns. Are going to leave their guns on the table, after Al dropped out in the 40s, this is family business now. This is family.
Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Right, exactly. Indy only accepts if what is this guy's full name? If Mr. Charles Stanforth can join him. Charles Stanforth, played by Jim Broadbent, returning from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Is Indy's traveling road manager who has connections to all the colleges and gets him jobs, basically.
Right.
So he's basically the one who's kind of getting Indy hired to speak at all these colleges and stuff, because he has all the connections. And, of course, this guy is going to kind of serve the role of In Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, he was kind of Raiders Marcus Brody. In this movie, he's going to be Last Crusade Marcus Brody.
Okay.
Okay. So they are accompanied to the Italian restaurant. We see a burly-looking man that Indy is inevitably going to fight in the third act, simply called the Made Man.
The Maid, come on, the Maid Man.
The Made Man.
The Maid, that's the name you went with?
The Made Man.
Oh, God, alright, fine, the Maid
It's
Man.
an actual mafiosa term. What do you want me to do?
It's a term, it's not a nickname.
It's a mafia. He's the Made Man.
Haven't you ever seen Goodfellas?
Hey, what's your name? Oh, I'm the maid.
Do you want to hear who I cast as the Made Man?
Is it Cranston? Don't
No,
toy
it's
with me
not
now.
fucking Cranston. No,
All right,
it's
if-
Batista.
Hey, show some respect.
If it was if it was the Minute Maid Man, I wouldn't have a problem.
Okay, but it's you're saying it's Batista.
Is he the Kool-Aid Man?
Dave Batista.
Oh, Dave
Oh.
Batista.
Yeah, Dave
Nice.
Batista.
This is hilarious. I have Dave Batista in my pitch too.
Really? Really?
Yes, for a second I thought you were about to put the Dexter Batista, but no, same guy.
Yeah, is he the big burly man that Indy fights in the third act?
Yes and no. He's not exactly the big burly man of the film, but he's in there as an obstacle.
Okay. So basically, the Made Man... Look, guys, all I'm saying is that this guy doesn't get a name, and on the action figure, he's just the Made Man, alright?
Okay,
But
that's
no-
what you gotta lead with. Lead with it like the action figure would be called the Maid Man.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, no one in the film ever actually calls him the Made Man. He just doesn't get a name, and then on the action figure, he's named the Made
There
Man.
you go. That's what you lead
Alright?
with.
Alright?
Go on.
Okay, I'm glad I solved that.
Alright, go on.
Oh,
Continue.
dear. Oh, dear.
Dave Batista, go on.
And what happened to the screen? Your screen, Tiki. Grab it, her.
Yeah, you don't have an image, Tiki. Is that on purpose?
Oh,
You're a
You were
black
presenting
bar.
an image and now it's a bar. I assume that was part of your plan.
no, it was not part of my plan.
I'm getting a
No.
sense that's not. Now you say that.
Because I've been doing that for. I think it's been like that for like 10 minutes.
All right.
Yeah, I thought it was like he was like looking for the next image or something.
No, I should be pulling up the next image, but I'm not.
Anyway, so Dave Batista.
I am going to pull up the next image pretty soon, though, because we're going to have a chase scene that I want to kind of illustrate. But yeah, Dave Batista, like I said, he's just kind of standing in the corner being the muscle for the Capones.
Okay.
So Indy and Charles are led into an Italian restaurant along Fisherman's Wharf, where the Capone siblings explain to Indy that they believe that their uncle Al Capone hid a secret vault within the caves of Alcatraz. Now, Indy's very skeptical about this at first, and as this is going on, a group of hippie-looking college students enters the pizzeria. While the college students are waiting on their service, we see that one in particular is taking note of the conversation happening in the back room and kind of eavesdropping on it. So Indy is skeptical about this whole vault on Alcatraz. He's like, are you kidding me? Capone was a prisoner in Alcatraz. How the hell could he have time to set up a vault?
Hey, where was the actual vault anyway? Did you look into that?
It's funny because the actual vault was kind of, it was the subject of a Geraldo Rivera special,
Yeah.
and they opened it, and not much was inside of it.
Well, I know. I'm saying like the where though. I'm saying did you get?
Oh,
like,
I'm not sure. I'm saying, like, there were multiple vaults, actually.
Okay, there you. That's what I meant. Okay, so this is like maybe another real vault.
Correct. This is a hypothetical other vault.
Okay, there you go. Proceed.
And, and Vincent D'Onofrio, he's just like, well, let me remind you, Indiana Jones, or let me remind you, Mr. Jones, my uncle was a man of vast resources. If he wanted to put a vault down there, he had a vault down there. So,
That is so. Give me more D'Onofrio. Okay, I love that. That's awesome. Give me that. That's what we need in the store. We need some D'Onofrio as a mobster.
Now, Mr. Jones, your reputation precedes you. This is a historical event that you would not want to miss out on, I'm assuming. I mean, the opening of my uncle's vault. My uncle, one of the most infamous mobsters in criminal history. It's something you can't pass up. I know it's something you can't pass up. And that's why I've asked you here, Mr. Jones. It's not just pleasantries.
Now, tell me one thing, T. I gotta ask you, please.
Yes, there's tons of pleasantries. There's bottles of wine.
No, not that.
There's bottles of wine, there's pasta, there's just all the pleasantries you could imagine.
No, there's one thing, T. I gotta know. Tell me you didn't pass up the opportunity to have the line where Jones corrects him and says, "It's Doctor." He says, "Okay, my apologies, Doctor."
No, I didn't think about that, but I'll just insert it in.
Insert it in, man. 'Cause that's a miss again. This awesome accuracy,
That's
Mr.
Dr. Jones to you. All right, my apologies, Doctor.
There you
My
go.
apologies.
Good man.
Okay. So arrangements are made for Indy to lead the Capones through Alcatraz as soon as the Capones can get a hold of a transportation vessel to Alcatraz. So in the meantime, they discover that the teenagers, the college kids who were waiting on their pizza, waiting on their food, mysteriously disappeared.
Oh, boy.
And as Indy and Charles are walking down the piers, a taxi cab pulls up as we see ominous shadowy figures following them. A taxi cab rolls down the window. Guys, can you guess who's in the taxi cab?
Sal?
No, it's not Sala.
The
It's
Wiggles?
Short Round!
This early in the story.
Short Round is a major player, man. I'm telling you.
Okay. I'm not judging. I'm saying that's okay. I'm just making sure. Okay.
Oh, God.
Well, keep in mind, Jacob, he's not a kid anymore, all right?
He's 42.
Yeah, exactly.
No, seriously,
Okay.
he should. Well, your guys' pitch is a little early, so I don't know that. But basically, he should be 32 and 67.
Okay, so Short Round pulls up. He's like, nice to see you again, Dr. Jones. It's been a while. I'd love to chat, but you have to get in right now. And then Indy's like, Shorty? What is this? Get in right now, Dr. Jones. And keep in mind, Short Round kind of has a little bit more of a Brooklyn accent than he did. Like, he's kind of like over the top, like Dr. Jones. You know, it's like there's a little bit of that still in there, but I want the actor to really be working with kind of trying to go beyond that a little bit, kind of trying to, like I said, trying to bring a Brooklyn sensibility to the character.
Did Short have a Yankee cap on?
Yes, he did. He had a Yankees cap. Yes.
Okay. Also, are you sticking with the original guy? Or you got a new guy?
I've got a new guy.
Who you got?
This guy right here, Stephen Young from The Walking Dead.
Not bad.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So Steve Young from The Walking Dead is our new Short Round. So Indy gets into the cab along with Jim Broadbent, and they are pursued up the street in the first major action sequence of the movie outside of the cold open. Up the streets of San Francisco. Check this out. Could you imagine Indy in a cable car? Basically, they're jumping from car to car. They're going up, and they're going up this steep-ass hill.
That sounds amazing. Like,
What am I going down? Or
Well,
down?
funny you mention that. There's cult members who see them on the cable car, and Indy, Short Round, and Jim Broadbent jump from one cable car that's going up to the other that's going down, right as the underlings of Reggie are getting onto the other cable car. So basically, as they're going up, Indy, Short Round, and Jim Broadbent go back down. So, and kind of one of the things that's implied is that Short Round knows the public transportation of the city really well. So he knows which buses are getting where and which trolleys are going where, and he knows which paths to take to avert them. Anyways, so after that, like I said, I honestly don't have much detail for my action set pieces. I do know that there is a chase scene with the taxi cab that takes place in Lombard Street.
Oh, I was just gonna show that.
Lombard Street is the famous, winding, curving, like one of the most curvy streets in America, if not the world. So imagine just like a high-intensity action scene, car chase, but down this like super narrow road. Okay.
Yeah, I was actually about to show that.
Yeah.
Suggest that to you, but no, you were ahead of me on that one.
I am. Anyways, so As they're escaping, we see Mutt Williams. He kind of stands up and he calls out to his father. But fellow cult members jump him and throw a potato sack over his head. And he definitely notices this. Yes. Okay, so...
He's kind of like lost his mind now, right?
What?
He's kind of like lost his mind then.
No, Mutt is trying to call out to Indy, but the cult members are keeping him. That's the thing.
Oh.
So Mutt has gone to the cult. Mutt has been kind of indoctrinated into the cult because of post-Kennedy assassination woes, essentially. Like, we don't really need to get that much into it, but basically Mutt was really disillusioned by the Kennedy assassination. And Reggie Smith, who I'm going to get into later on in the pitch, is definitely going to have a major influence over Mutt and a lot of the other youth culture in San Francisco over the 60s.
Okay.
So, anyways. So Indy, Short Round, and Charles escape to Chinatown, where they meet Short Round's wife, a woman named Do Kim. This is an immigrant from India who immigrated, ironically enough, when she was 5 years old. She immigrated to Vietnam. And then, of course, when shit went down in Vietnam, Short Round actually rescued her. Short Round rescued her from Vietnam because Short Round was serving as a chef for the army at the time. And he got her out of Vietnam. So, do you guys want to know my actress for Do Kim?
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
Aaron David.
What's the picture?
Wait. Oh, her. Oh, you mean Tika? Do you mean who I think you mean?
I think so.
You mean from Gallivant?
Yeah.
All right. She
Where?
was the Princess Isabella in the Gallivant.
Yeah, Princess Isabella from Gallivant.
Oh yeah, I don't know her.
Well, she's good.
Yeah. So Karen Allen is, Karen David. Karen
Alan's
Allen
the
is
other
coming
one.
up.
Karen's
Alan's
the
coming up. Alan's coming
That one's
up.
the more important one.
I'm gonna get a good dynamic going on between the two Karens in this movie. So basically, we see that Short Round has established a pizzeria within Chinatown because it kind of calls back. Yes, because it kind of calls back to his deep-rooted love of Brooklyn and American culture, and it's something that he's proud to give back to within his own Asian community. Now, I know that Short Round might technically be Japanese because we saw him in Shanghai, but still, just, I thought Chinatown was an appropriate place. I'm not trying to be racist and say, like, oh, all Asians are...
Tiki, isn't Shanghai in China?
Yeah.
You're right.
Is it?
Yeah, I thought Hong Kong and Shanghai are in China.
I think you're right, Dragon. Okay, so Short Round's right at home then. Okay, but anyways, the whole point is that Short Round is a New Yorker at heart, and he's wanting to give back to the community with his own love, which is the Brooklyn deep dish. So, okay. Indy calls Marion on one of the old-fashioned like dial telephones. Yep. Marion is staying at a hotel while they're staying in San Francisco, and I have a good Marion line here. Let's see. No, wait. I think it's the next time. I think it's basically Indy says that. Well, Marion. I don't know. He's trying to explain the thing with the Italians. He's just basically this is just kind of like, Marion, look. I have good news and bad news. The good news is that I might have found our son. The bad news is that I kind of got involved with the Capones and might be a little in over my head in that. And it's meant to kind of be played for comedy, and Marion's like, Indy, you did what? What, you Capones? Like, Marion, it's not what it sounds like, alright? They're nice people. No, Indy, they're mobsters, Indy, come on. But Marion, our son Marion, alright? So, you get it. It's kind of like classic Indian Marion banter. Anyways, Indy and Doe share a beer with each other. Short Round's taking out the trash, and they see on TV, the TV's been playing the whole time, but they see on TV that Reggie Smith is meeting with the current mayor of San Francisco the next day. and Indy puts the pieces together. He knows he has to get close to Reggie Smith to get Mutt Williams back. Mutt is absolutely his goal at this point. The Capone thing with Alcatraz is kind of a side thing that's going to factor more into the plot later. As of right now, Indy has to find a way to get close to the cult leader, to get close to Reggie Smith. And that is the finale of Act 1 for me.
Okay.
Bravo, bravo. That was nice.
Thanks.
Nice.
Thanks.
Alright. You ready for my Act 1?
Yeah.
Okay, Act 1. We cut to black in the at the end of the opening adventure. So now we have another kind of a fade from black. We're in Cairo, where it all started.
Nice.
We're back in Cairo. We see a familiar shot. You know, the digging by kind of silhouette. You know, it's in the dead of night. Kind of that. The great shot we had from Raiders, where it's Indy's kind of there for the dig, kind of a shot like that. But it's by like kind of lit torches are kind of the red source in that scene. So again, it's like silhouettes by torchlight.
Mm-hmm.
We see a man in shadow. We don't see him. We just in shadow with again like an excellent silhouette with muscle, and his muscle is Quincy. Again, I hate coming up with names. So Quincy's the one I landed on because I thought it was like it's kind of ironic. It means 5 technically, and because it means 5, it's the 5th Indiana Jones film, so it's kind of an in-joke.
Well, I think it's just as good as coming up with like naming the villain after fucking Jock Lindsay's pet snake. So.
Well, I mean, I needed kind of I was thinking about Ducky for a while because they're all British. All my bad
I
guys.
like Ducky, but
I have at least a few of my bad guys are British. At least
okay.
So, anyway, so I got Quincy. Quincy is played by Vinnie Jones.
Nice, love it.
I love Vinnie Jones, and one of his best he plays great villains, and one of his best villain performances that kind of inspired me for this one. He was Sebastian Moran in Elementary,
Mm-hmm.
the right-hand man to Moriarty. It's really good in that. Anyway, so of course, also sorry, what?
I said he's really good at playing right-hand men.
Absolutely, and of course, one of his finest performances is Gareth in Galvan, which is the big reason he's always on my mind. Anyways, point is,
Cool.
so point is, he's kind of our brawny, kind of our Odd Job style villain. You know, he doesn't exactly have a motif like Odd Job, but he's the fun muscle. You know, he's like really Vin Jones is eating it up, doing a lot of fun stuff. So point is, he's the right hand man of our man in shadow here. He's really dealing with our diggers here. So. The men have found something. These are Salah's guys. Salah's employed kind of guys that kind of do the excavations and the digs with them.
Mm-hmm.
The men have found something, and they're beginning to excavate, being lifted outside there. Salah, meanwhile, he's like lives close by. He's just kind of it's pretty much like it's a walk down to the construction site almost, you know. So Salah tells his wife, a quick email from the wife saying, he's gonna check on the men's progress, see how everything's going with the deal. He facilitates the deal, that sort of thing. It's like again, like he owns a construction crew essentially. So Salah goes down there. He's walking down the street. We see a giant sandstone tablet with a snake image on it being lifted from the ground. Salah sees this from a distance. He's intrigued by it. He's walking up casually. The man in shadow, gives the order to Quincy here to load up and kill the men.
Okay.
Load up, kill the men. Quincy gleefully carries this out. Says, finally, the idea is Quincy, he gleefully loves to kill people, and he loves his work, and that's the charm of this guy. He gleefully carries out this assignment to Salah's horror. So basically, as he and his men, he and some other henchmen with guns, pretty much, Quincy's leading the assault, is shooting the men in the pit after the thing just kind of loaded up. Salah's he's right behind the construction site, right behind the excavation site, essentially. So basically, he's right in between like an alleyway of buildings. So, and he also just evades some wild gunfires, guns are going all over the place. A few guys are getting a little reckless with it, but it's like to Salah's heart, he's bearing witness to all of this murder in front of him. Men he's sat down with, men his children has played with their children. They're all friendly on this desk. To Salah's heart, innocent people that he knew are getting killed in front of him. He's helpless to stop them. He manages to take a few pictures. Basically, he just evades some wild gunfire. He ducks behind a building, like a little wooden fence or something. He's basically through a little gap in the fence. As the thing's being loaded up, he takes a few pictures with like a little spy camera, which we get the origin of a little later on. He catches his breath, like he just saw something really horrific, and he survived to tell the tale. He took a few pictures, so he basically got an image of the sandstone tablet that you get a sense of who he's going to take that to. A month later, a month since that incident, we're with Indy at Marshall College. Indy's in his office because he's like the associate dean from the end of End of Crystal Skull. So in his office, he's thanked profusely by a humble English museum curator in London, Dr. Curtis Hanson, who is played by the wonderful James D'Arcy.
Nice.
Edwin Jarvis from Agent Carter. And he's basically kind of our Marcus Brody type. He's a little bumbling, like Marcus Brody. He's assuring Indy that the Spear of Destiny will be safe. The Spear of Destiny will be safe and welcome. It'll be a safe and welcome addition. He acknowledges, Indy's reputation and adventure. He admires it greatly. I can't seem to gather the bravery to leave London except for item procurement and to thank contributors like yourself. Thank you. And he is on his way. Again, he looks up to Indy practically. Indy excuses himself. Well, thank you, and excuse me, I have a class to teach. The idea, he runs the place, but also he still loves teaching his class. So Indy's really in a comfortable lifestyle outside of the suit right now. Again, outside of the hat and the adventure costume. That's where he's in danger. But here he's had a really nice life outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you see a happy Indy, Professor Jones walking, Dr. Jones walking. He's a beloved professor to the now integrated student body. It's not a big deal, but it's there. We have some black students in there. I don't believe we've seen that before in the Indy films. I don't even think in Crystal Skull. So there's a few in the student body as well as just kind of your average student. Everyone still loves Indy. It's kind of the main point of this. He's giving study notes and pointers and high fives to people. Everyone loves Indy. Along the way to the adoring students, as per usual. He's a long-time professor. It's a big thing for kids, especially in this day and age, to still kind of like teachers. But Indy's different than the rest of the teachers because he's an action hero who's also a teacher. He's got a reputation. So there are a few questions about his adventures during the lecture, and you kind of linger on a shot of a contemplative Indiana Jones, of kind of wondering, asking about my adventures here, and my last adventure didn't turn out so well. He's kind of thinking about what are my adventures amounted to these days. So he's welcomed home by Marion Ravenwood. No problems whatsoever. Everything's going well in their marriage. Just want to make that clear. Indy's going to go through a lot of kind of not almost like a midlife crisis of sorts through this film, almost. He exposits a line that would basically excuse why Mutt Williams isn't in this film. Because, look, I like LaBeouf's performance, but I have my doubts that Disney's going to bring back him specifically for the role because he caused.
And that's exactly why I had Mutt as basically a cameo who shows up in for 5 lines throughout the film.
In my opinion, the one I think they should get to kind of play an older Mutt. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt should play an older Mutt Williams if they ever kind of go back to the
You suggested Joseph Gordon-Levitt to me, and I actually worked him into my film, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that's kind of generally what I think, because I think it kind of fits the Williams, it cross between Ford and cross between, the LaBeouf kind of.
Just as a little bit of a minor spoiler, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is playing an undercover cop working with Indy to infiltrate the cult.
Yeah. So let's just say I kind of left an open window, so Mutt Williams could return it with a different actor in the future if Disney wanted to pursue that. So basically, it's the idea that Indy will have some sort of a kind of one-liner saying, Mutt's pursuing his own adventures these days, and the idea again, less. I don't know exactly what he's saying. I'm saying generally.
Yeah, right.
The idea is that Indy has trained Mutt Williams in the 10 years, and he went to study abroad, and also there's some story possibilities with that. Him and Oxley could go on some adventures together. I don't know, maybe.
I don't think we need to see any more of Oxley.
I'm saying a better Oxley. He's not under the dumb mind control thing.
Fair enough.
Again, John Hurt's a good actor. Let's give him credit too. Anyways, also perhaps maybe Mutt Williams got drafted into the Vietnam War. Again, we don't know against the story possibilities. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Indy's stitches need tending to, and I want to mirror the scene from Raiders where she's kind of tending to his wounds here, and as a married couple, that's an old married couple that's really in love. Basically all I can say is just imagine this Kasdanian scene in this moment here. So Indy feels his age, a sweet Marion pep talk here, just saying, look a day old over. He basically, you still look the same as when I fell in love with you, that sort of stuff, Basically, in the scenes, the cliff notes, what's really said here is it's basically an acknowledgement of concern that she's concerned when he goes out, when he wears the hat and everything, but she'll always be there to patch him up and care for him. That's the most Kasdan line I could put in this for this scene. I'm sorry, I couldn't really come up with short. I wasn't short on time. I was like short on kind of being able to flesh things out.
Right, right.
So let's see. So I think overall, just Indy's feeling, it kind of reads on screen. However, it reads on screen is that Indy feels he's lost his motivation for adventure doing it. He's just doing it for the thrill now instead of the motivation of archaeology.
Hmm.
And that it's kind of eating away at him on the inside. And he feels that and that leads to real danger. He's just doing it for the thrill, and he's getting reckless. So that's kind of Indy's kind of the motivation for kind of his crisis in this film. Let's see. So Marion reminds Indy that basically Marion reminds it. It's a really nice line of Marion here. It kind of sets things up, perhaps. Like Marion reminds Indy that look, you've always cared about teaching more. I always hear you droning on about lectures here and there, which we saw in Crystal Skull. You always care about teaching more, and you can give up the hands-on lifestyle anytime you want, and still be do what you love. So you always have that option, and you don't forget that. You can give them some good advice. A real nice, sweet scene between the two of them. Unfortunately, I think that's all I have with Marion in this film. I wanted to have her a little bit more in the first act, but she didn't serve as much of a purpose in the story. I'm sorry, Marion. I know. I really wanted to. But anyway, so let's see. So next day, it's the next day. The class is interrupted by Sala.
Yay!
And this is a first. Sala coming to visit
So
Indy.
is this kind of like the classic Marcus Brody spot?
Yes, but it's with Sala instead.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Okay.
And it's basically, it's like, Sal's like waving through the classroom, and he's like going, "What?"
Sala's a lot more delightful than he is in my version.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. I have some serious moments with. Again, you saw what he saw at the beginning here, so there's gonna be some serious.
True.
The point is, at the beginning here, Sal's still excited, and he's more excited because he's never seen Indy and his
Indy, my
professor.
friend. Oh,
Yeah,
Indy, it's you in your natural habitat.
Indy, come to the hallway at once. He's like waving through from the door. He's just like the glass door's tapping on the glass. Hey, come out here. And he's like, oh my god, why is Sala here? He goes out in the hallway, he's talking to him, he gives him a big old, Sala gives him a big old hug, says, Indy, my friend, it's good to see you, what are you wearing? You look completely different, that sort of thing, it's just complete kind of, while he's talking about some serious stuff, he's momentarily distracted by what's going on. It's a joyous reunion, like old friends, they haven't seen each other in a while, and Indy's really surprised to see him there. Sala is a little starstruck at the whole Indiana professor mode thing going on there. Moving on to kind of the crux of it. Basically, after the interruption, we get the scene between the two of them. Just to boil it down here, Sala tells Indy about the excavation gone wrong. He didn't speak to the man in charge, the man in shadow, but he spoke to Quincy, the right-hand man. Knows very little about him, very mysterious, kind of money on the table sort of thing, but that's what pays the bills. He got pictures of this tablet they excavated, and he reveals, how did you get pictures? And he says he shows his little spy camera he got from the bazaar, because I love the little spy cameras from the 60s, and Batman has one, Batman the Animated Series, I just really want to get one in there. Point is, I like the idea, okay, well, he traded this and it was in the bazaar somewhere, so okay, well, he traded in the marketplace, that's how we got this neat little camera, and that's how we get a plot contrivance, but in a really fun way, just plays off like, oh, I got this little what's the word, little trinket, I guess. Anyway, curio. That's a curio. Anyways, let's see. So he heard the Fountain of Youth was kind of murmured jokingly amongst the men before they killed the innocent people. Sala points out the snake and Ouroboros, the Ouroboros myth in Egypt. So now Tiki and everyone there, the Ouroboros myth with the snake here. I'm going to go into some mythological crossover a little later on. This is the setup here. Is that in the Egyptian lore, from what I could research, is that the snake eating it. Basically, the Ouroboros is the snake eating its tail image in like an infinity symbol of sorts.
Right. Yeah.
The snake eating its tail, kind of an infinite. In this, if the purpose of this story also, it's like recreation and rebirth. The idea of you're going to start life over again. Hence, tying into the Fountain of Youth angle. The snake equaling kind of healing and youth. So Indy dismisses the Fountain of Youth as just Ponce de Leon's ego trip. In real life, though, Ponce de Leon, the old story about this Spanish explorer, he goes around the world looking for the Fountain of Youth, and he finds it in Florida, and they make a theme park in the 30s. And this is the real thing. They made a theme park in the 30s, calling it Fountain of Youth Archaeological Dig Theme Park of some kind.
Nice.
And basically, I fear Indy has little respect for that, saying, "Oh, it's just the cash-in of archaeology." He rolls his eyes at the notion of it. And Indy notes that, however, Indy does know from the photograph that Saul brings him. He notes the snake illustration on the tablet seems to be a symbol of Greek origin. It reminds him of a theory he and a doctor friend of his, who we're going to meet later on, looked into years ago. So Sala tells Indy he would have come sooner, but he had basically said, Sala, why didn't you come to me earlier about this? Because it's been a month. So Sala tells him, well, Indy, I had funerals to plan and had health issues to attend to. So again, Sala's really going through some heavy stuff in this film. Let's not forget. So he begs for Indy's help. Indy hesitates for a moment again, kind of think about Marion's words, thinking about, well, I mean, again, I don't know if I can cut out to go on a journey anymore. I'm getting really old. I'm getting a lot of dangerous stuff going on here. The fact that innocent people have been killed in grave robbery of an artifact, it's really kind of reminding Indy why he got into this, to prevent that sort of thing. So Indy kind of, in some ways, here's the thematic idea, folks, in some ways it's recapturing his youth for a selfish reason.
Nice.
In a way. So anyway, this leads to Indy agreeing. Sala insists on joining him because he's responsible for the fate of his menu. Sala, out of a duty and responsibility, he wants to help. He wants to go along with Indy, despite Indy's protest, to help him, save, to help him get justice for his men.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, let's see. The first stop, it's kind of expositing. The first stop is we need to seek help of his old friend from college, his old college friend and professor, who is Dr. Phil Hastings, played by the wonderful, the talented Kevin Kline.
Nice. Love it.
Basically, he is. There are a few Marcus Brody's in this film, and we have kind of the. Let's just say they're both kind of comedy Marcus Brody's, but they both take. They're both interesting in their own way. I'll say that much about it right now. So you have Dr. Phil Hastings here, who again. Dr. Phil Hastings, played by Kevin Kline, he basically taught Indy kind of dedication to research better than the rest, better than his father, because this guy, he is the leading expert in Greek mythology. This guy knows it like the back of his. He knows all the ins and outs of Greek mythology. He's close by also, which is really convenient, because they go from Connecticut, which I believe is the location in Raiders. They're in like Oxford, Connecticut, and they go to Pennsylvania, which is pretty much next door.
Mm-hmm.
So they find Hastings Hastings' apartment or his house or something, and they find that Hastings is gone, and it looks like the place has been ransacked. Indy does some detective work, he and Seller kind of doing a little bit of detective work, a little bit of Sherlock and Watson here.
Nice.
It's been Indy determines, again, like an archaeological dig, but only through objects and items. It's been a little over a month, because again, it's been Saul came to him. It's been a little over a month. There are no signs of a struggle, which means only his stuff was going through, which means he wasn't taken or anything. His stuff's missing. And his stuff's missing. They find they find a clue that says, okay, the last place he traveled to was London, to a museum. And again, we would just see a guy and he says, well, luckily, I have a friend who can help us. I know a guy from a London museum. It was the same museum our guy was going to. Again, coincidence. So they fly coach with the map. I just love the fact they fly coach. Indians all fly coach with the little Indiana Jones map.
Is the map okay? Tell me this: is the map gag kind of cheapened in some way because they're flying coach?
A little bit. It's a little more humble, It's basically it's kind of a shorter trip.
Okay.
It could be drawn on tape.
Absolutely.
It'd be like crayons or something.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
To tell you the truth, I was kind of toying around with.
I know, I'm just kidding.
I was kind of toying around with the idea of doing a taxi cab traveling by map for Indian Short Round, but that's about the only travel that we do in the movie is by taxi. So. Anyways, Dragon, continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, so they fly coach with the map to London, to this London museum that we had the James Darcy character earlier on. I mentioned the James Darcy character's name, Dr. Curtis Hanson, right?
Hanson, yeah.
Okay, let's see. So Curtis Hanson, we were at the museum. Pretty much, we're getting from Hanson here. Curtis, I'll call him from this point forward. Curtis reveals Hastings was in talks for a Greek myth addition to the museum. It's a museum kind of starting to kind of build itself. That's the idea of this place. That's why he's looking for so many antiquities and so many items. He called and visited the hotel. I mean, the police turned up nothing. He looked everywhere for this guy. Nothing. Just disappeared off the face of the earth. And he's intrigued. He wishes to join them. Oh my God! I mean, I never. If I can help you guys in any way, at least let me give you a car ride to the authorities. On the case's progress. I mean, the last thing they told me, I'll tell you the same thing. We want you to go down there, and again, more with kind of a charming British accent. Bear in mind. Basically, they get the kind of the update on the case from the police. I mean, get in the town car here. Let's go. The fancy kind of like limousine sort of car. Anyway, so this as they're driving there, a cute little introduction to the Sala and Curtis here, mentions of Indy and he went on the Raiders. It's a little Raiders of the Lost Ark mention of like, oh yes, I've gone on many adventures with Indy. Oh yes, it was the one adventure. Was the adventure where we went up against a tank. All this.
Nice.
That sort of thing. And again, because this guy's like I think the idea also is like this guy is such a huge fan of Indiana Jones. It's kind of get on Indy's nerves. Going to remind him of the good old days. It's like
yeah.
So he hands. Could you hand me the newspaper, please? The newspaper in a little bottom, like Saul sitting on newspaper, so he hands him the newspaper. He's reading it. Meanwhile, Indy's sitting right in front of Curtis here. Saul's on the side. Indy's like making notes of Hastings Trail, just trying to find out where the guy's going. He marks the Sala. Well, Sala, what do you? Yada. Hey, Sala, what do you think of this? Turns to Sala. Sala's asleep.
Oh God.
He looks down at Sala's tie. There's a dart in Sala's tie.
Oh shit.
He turns the Hanson with the paper. The paper has a hole in it. And then there's another hole in it. Indy looks down in shock, and then he looks back up. That he has a dart now in his chest. It puts the paper down, and then basically from the kind of the bumbling, charming demeanor of what we know James Darcy for from Agent Carter, he now switches into kind of smooth James Bondian. My apologies, Dr. Jones. When you awaken, you'll find your bags unpacked. You'll find your bags unpacked when you awaken. My employer looks forward to meeting the great Indiana Jones. Indy passes out. Curtis sips his tea, sets the cup down. End of Act 1.
Okay, nice. So, Sandy and Jacob, do you have an Act 2?
Actually, I'm gonna have to bow out now. I have to get up in a couple hours for work.
Okay, well that's okay. Nice having you on anyways, Jacob.
I already discussed this with Sandy. He's completely fine with it. Again, I'm sorry for leaving you guys like this.
Don't worry about it. Thanks for helping, Sandy.
Yeah, I'm still gonna be here, so I'll go by myself. But I don't have too much hope for our pitch here, so I'm fine with
It's not a contest.
I know, but it's just kind of embarrassing because this is like stuff I do, like write and stuff, and it's just kind of humiliating.
Well, we usually don't do it on such short notice either.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm gonna have to.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jacob.
Then I'm gonna have to bow out after Sandy's done. So in a little bit. So I'm sorry, guys.
All right, it's all good.
Right, what are you saying?
This is Indiana Jones, so it's kind of hard to write for.
True.
At least,
I think we can all agree on that one.
All right, so Act 2.
All right, bye, guys.
See
Oh, see you, Jacob.
Sorry again. Bye.
It's all good. Don't worry about it.
See ya.
Yeah.
See ya.
And then he went.
And they called him Jacob Wild.
Okay, so meanwhile, not that guy. Sandy, go on.
All right. So at this point in our story, I forgot to name the actor of the man playing Derek.
Okay.
He is being played by good old Star Trek villain John Delancey. Well, I picked him.
Ooh.
I picked him in particular because he's old and he's menacing. He's got a great voice and he's got a great look, and I think if you put him in a suit and dressed him up nice, he'd make a pretty good villain.
Man, Delancey's good.
Oh yeah. So moving on. Act 2, Indy, and now in our story, Indy is kind of like a father type to Leo, who's only 23.
Okay.
His father was killed in a car accident, which this is, of course, it's not expanded upon much after that because really, it's not really important. So Leo is all by himself in the world, and he doesn't have any family really. So seeing as Leo's now is a friend. And Indy's kind of like a father figure to him. They set off traveling by map as Indy has now taken this from Derek Kenny. Yes, Derek Kenny. They set off traveling by map in a plane through to the Bermuda Triangle. After getting caught in a big thunderstorm, of course, this is kind of rushed here. I didn't spend a whole lot of time working on these details. They get caught in a big thunderstorm. The plane crashes right before the two are knocked out cold. They wake up on a beautiful island, but to their dismay, the pilot has been killed, most likely from the impact. But too quickly, they realize that they are stuck in a large tree in the jungle, in the middle of the jungle. But of course, Indiana Jones, being the guy he is, he manages to get out alive with Leo, and the plane probably gets destroyed or something. The two climb through the jungle with, again, this is really rushed here. The clever wits, ancient maps and carvings, booby traps, and pitted tarantulas. I just put that in there because I absolutely hate tarantulas and spiders. They find a hidden cave.
Andy, I'm right there with you. I hate spiders a lot more than I hate snakes. I'll gladly climb into a pit of snakes any day before I climb into a pit of spiders.
Yeah,
I hate snakes, Jack. I hate them.
I mean, I don't mind snakes either. Spiders are just
the thing with me, with insects and creepy crawlies and stuff like that, is like the more legs, the worse it is.
Yeah.
So snakes don't have legs, so snakes are fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, but they have sharp, venomous teeth.
No, I understand that, but just from a
Thunder.
pure visual perspective, just from the visual point of view, I think spiders are a lot more terrifying.
Plus, they have a bunch of eyes.
Right. Anyways.
Fast, and they're fast.
All right.
All right.
Tarantulas.
So let's see. Where am I? I'm trying to find my place here.
Tarantulas.
Oh yes, they find a hidden cave after going through all that mayhem there, which leads them straight to Noah's Ark, which is filled with gold and silver and riches taken from sailors by the natives thousands of years ago. So basically, what this is here is the Ark was kind of like this big. It was like their big, like storage place where the natives were on the island and they found this Ark and they decided, well, I guess this is as good a place to any to put all their gold and treasure and everything. So it's really doesn't really tie into any biblical elements except for this is of course Noah's Ark.
I kind of like that idea. I kind of like the idea of Noah's Ark being multi-purpose for something else.
Yeah. Plus, it was only used for Noah and his family, so it doesn't really have any like magical powers. Jacob and I were talking about like what if the Ark had magical powers. It really doesn't work that well. So the two find the Ark in the huge cave. I was thinking something like Goonies.
Nice.
So the two are standing in awe at the golden glow surrounding the Ark as its doors are spilling with treasure, and that pretty much wraps up Act 2 as they find the Ark and get to the island. There we go.
This Ark is even more amazing than the other Ark.
Well, as far as I guess visuals go, it's I guess it's pretty big. So. All right.
Anything else to kind of tell us before leading into Act 3?
Well, for us too.
Well, I know.
I don't have anything else. That's
Okay, cool. All right, folks. Well, are you guys ready to meet the full brunt of Jared Leto's Reggie Smith? Because this guy is the darkest Indiana Jones villain ever.
Is it all going to get edited out?
What do you mean?
Reggie.
Is all the Jared Leto stuff going to get edited out?
Hopefully not.
Well, then continue.
And hopefully Jared Leto behaves himself with the method acting this time. Like, I want him to go pretty dark with this character, but behave yourself, Jared.
Well, that's a bad idea then. Of course he's going to go method with it.
Oh, God. We'll see how much he reins it in. Okay, so Indy, Doe, Marion, and Short Round the next day are sneaking around the Reggie Smith rally in Golden Gate Park that is happening before Reggie Smith meets with the mayor of San Francisco. And keep in mind, this is kind of based in historical context where Jim Jones, the cult leader behind Jonestown, would actually get meetings with political figures himself. So I'm kind of taking that into the equation a little bit. And that our cult leader is kind of starting to become a little bit politically influential here. Now, Indy is trying to be incognito about it because he knows that everyone recognizes Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones kind of become a little bit of a legend. But he's not doing it very well because he's just wearing kind of like a Ninja Turtles style trench coat So he's still kind of sticking out, just not in the Indiana Jones type of way. Short Round is kind of the one who's blending into the crowd, and he's casually asking around for Mutt Williams. He's casually acting around because there's a whole bunch of... and one of the things with this film I want to point out is the paranoia that's created, because every time you see like a hippie-looking college kid, you don't know if they're part of what I like to call Smithtown or not. Now, Smithtown is basically just the name that Reggie Smith just gives to all his followers. All his followers are collectively Smithtown.
The follower of Reggie.
Yes, Smithtown. And so basically, you don't know if any of the college kids in the background are a Smithtown member or not, and that kind of leads to a lot of paranoia within the film. So basically, Short Round's walking around asking about Mutt, and he's getting some suspicious glances. And then we get our first chilling look at Reggie Smith, played by Jared Leto. Reggie Smith is slightly overweight, balding, has a 2-week-old neck beard stubble, but in spite of that, he holds his own with a speech and roars down verbal fire and brimstone upon the youth. A lot of Reggie Smith stuff, it's basically kind of like on 2 levels. One, Reggie Smith is kind of like latched onto the youth that has become disenfranchised with America in the wake of the Kennedy assassination and in the wake of Vietnam. That's how he got his claws into Mutt Williams. And that is kind of like where, on the surface level, he's basically a radical anti-Vietnam protester, and he's leading others to take charge against Vietnam. On a more sinister level, he has plans in place for Smithtown, which is a refugee camp that's going to be just outside of Zimbabwe, Africa. He knows the heat is onto the cult, and he wants to get out of the country with the minions that he's acquired in tow. So basically, Reggie Smith is kind of just acquiring a lot of power with the people that he's converting to his cause through the guise of basically being a peaceful protest group. But of course, there's some far, far, far more sinister motivations at play here. Now, Short Round asks one too many questions, and a few of the high-level cult members circle him. With that, it's time for Indy to shed his disguise and spring into action, saving Short Round with the whip, but revealing his position. Now, Reggie, not wanting to be one to stir up conflict in the middle of a peace rally, breaks up the commotion immediately in kind of like a Lotso Huggenbear type way. And he puts an end to his speech. He calls Indy into kind of like the backstage area of... He has a motorcade that he travels around with, so let's just say he brings Indy into his car. We see that Indy is leading the youth, we see that Reggie is leading the youth in his natural habitat, and he's quietly, basically he's just kind of like, I don't know, I don't know quite how to explain it, but Reggie just has this very chilling presence about him where you can very obviously tell what attracts young people to him, because on the surface level, he's got a chill demeanor behind him, in spite of the fact that behind the microphone, he has a very powerful voice and a very powerful presence, and that mix of the chill demeanor and just the booming kind of fire and brimstone velocity that he brings to his speeches makes him a very powerful adversary, makes him a very powerful kind of tool to recruit young people into his Smithtown movement.
But he's an overweight guy with a neckbeard.
What?
But he's an overweight guy with a neckbeard.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that he just uses his personality. It doesn't matter that he's not the best-looking guy. Charles Manson wasn't the best-looking guy. Jim Jones wasn't the best-looking guy. These are people that used persuasion and used a cult of personality to assume their tactics. And that is exactly what's going on with Reggie Smith. Reggie Smith is completely... he is a personal... He's not using religion or anything like that. Basically, his entire thing is, he's leading the youth because he's kind of brainwashing them to think that the country is essentially entirely falling apart after Vietnam and the Kennedy assassination, and there's no hope left for the country. That the only hope left is go to Zimbabwe and turn the idea of Smithtown, which is the idea that he is embodying into all his members, like, we are Smithtown, is essentially, like, every one of them is Smithtown. He wants Smithtown to be a reality, and that's the goal within the larger community as well. Anyways, Reggie is trying to be completely reasonable about the Mutt situation. He says, like, yeah, Dr. Jones, Mutt Williams is in our group, I understand, yeah, and, I understand there's some tension, but the last thing I would want to do, Dr. Jones, is break up a family. Now, I tell you what, Dr. Jones, Mutt is busy right now. I'm sure you know we have this meeting with the mayor, all that jazz. He's kind of trying to be chill, kind of hippie-ish. Meet me here after sunset, and bring your wife along with you, and it'll be a nice old family reunion. Now, of course, they're all skeptical, but Reggie kind of just excuses himself because he's late to the meeting with the mayor, so it's cut short. Now, Short Round has been roughed up a little by Reggie's goons, but he brushes it aside. Doe is a little less forgiving as she sneers at the cult members who jump Short Round on their way out and just kind of gives them like a nasty look. So there's some tension in the air. There's some tension. Like, we're basically promised, like, yeah, come back at sundown. We'll reunite you've met. Look, I am not a guy who's going to separate a father from a son, all right? I totally get you. Just come back. It's cool. I've got some errands to run right now. I've got a very important meeting with the mayor. You know how that goes. But come back, man. Come back. It's all good. It's all good. So that's kind of our villain at surface level right now. The group reconvenes at the Palace of Fine Arts and meets up with Emma Ritter. Like I said, Emma Ritter, played by Julianne Moore, professor of sociology. And she has been making a case study out of Reggie's ever-growing group, the Smithtown Coalition. And while they're doing research, Capone's made man gets Indy's attention. The made man informs Indy that a boat has been chartered for Indy to go to Alcatraz on the condition that Indy go alone. Now, Indy is like, well, no, I'm dealing with something with my son right now. The Capones can wait. And the made man, a man of few words, simply says, Capones don't wait, Dr. Jones. This way. And Indy is essentially strong-armed into one of those classic, like 1940s-style mobster cars, and driven to a dock where he is taken to Alcatraz. So now we have the first major kind of exploration set piece in the movie, which is Alcatraz, obviously. It's contrasted against kind of like the late afternoon beaming sun. The next time we see Alcatraz is going to be in the darkness, so I kind of contrasted that. I'm kind of like, we have one scene of Alcatraz in daylight, one scene of Alcatraz at nighttime. Now, Indy is leading Enzo and Rizzo around, the two Capone siblings, as they're sneaking around, as we have two different groups sneaking around them. We have a group of homeless Native Americans who took up residence after the prison on the island closed in 1963. Speaking of which, yeah, historical accuracy. That is actually a thing that happened once Alcatraz closed. Homeless Native Americans took up residence on there. So I did kind of work that into the plot. Indy has not really interacted with Native Americans before. I thought this would be a cool, interesting opportunity for him to interact with a group of nomad Native Americans. And so essentially, the Native Americans are sneaking around, but also members of Smithtown are sneaking around on Alcatraz because they overheard the conversation. These are the same people that were at the diner the other night, and they overheard the conversation about the vault being on Alcatraz. And of course, the one thing Reggie Smith wants more than anything else, resources. Resources to bring the Smithtown complex in Zimbabwe into reality. Anyways, so we see, we see sneaking around, and, like I said, it's basically kind of like, I staged this essentially to be like a sequel to the sneaking around the Mayan ruin scene in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, except done better, where there's a lot of, like, kind of comedic, like, just missed moments as the three groups are kind of, like, they're, like, going in and out of the prison cells and up the rocks and stuff like that.
Okay.
And like I said, there's a lot of, like, near-miss encounters. Now Vincent D'Onofrio is expositing. Now, Dr. Jones, one of the things you have to know about this mission is that there's a very particular set of jewels that my Uncle Capone, that my Uncle Al robbed, and it's locked in this vault, this particular vault, not any of the other vaults. Now, these jewels, Dr. Jones, they're basically more valuable than any of Capone's riches combined together. So basically, the jewels of Capone. And like I said, this is kind of like a little bit of a stretch for my mythical item that everyone wants. I just kind of had like, all right, well, let's just say Capone pulled off the heist of all heists and got the world's most valuable jewels. All right, we all just. I mean, I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but. But basically, that's like the value item. It's like there's all kinds of gold, there's all kinds of cash in the vault, according to the myths. But the one thing that the Capone family actually wants is the jewels. And, okay, they come upon Al Capone's cell, and they see that he has indeed dug into it, kind of Shawshank Redemption style, where instead of the poster, there's just kind of like the hole in the floor of the cell. And Vincent D'Onofrio says, "Now, I want you to remember that this vault, this excavation, it's been going on long after my uncle died. My uncle just kind of started the idea, and he did place the things in here, but..." So, essentially, I don't know, I'm kind of digging myself into a grad with this. I don't know. I'm kind of hidden on a plot hole right now that I'm not realizing. Basically, my plot hole is, let's forget about what I just said about the Capones working on excavating the vault. That's just something that's just recently come to their attention. But essentially, okay, how about this? How about there's just like a loose piece of concrete that they have to get open, and then that concrete reveals kind of like a trap door within the cell that leads to kind of the catacombs of Alcatraz. Because basically what I want to do is I want to just establish that Al Capone hid this tunnel very, very well. So it's like, it's literally like hidden beneath the concrete of his cell is this tunnel.
I guess.
Okay. And keep in mind that people tunneling out of Alcatraz was a thing that actually happened.
True.
Okay. Anyways, before they can get into the hole, they're attacked by members of Smithtown. A brawl takes place in the prison cells that lead to the cliffs. Now, on the cliffs, we see that the Native Americans save Indy and basically kind of dispose of the Smithtown members that were, like I said, also at the restaurant. So they're kind of like bit villains. And the tribe grants a deal with Capone's to help excavate Alcatraz. Basically, the tribe will take everything else in the vault. All the Capones want are the jewels. So it's essentially kind of like the Jafar deal. It's like, everything else is yours, but the lamp is mine.
Right.
All right, so as Indy returns to shore, Short Round is waiting for him with his cabbie. Now, in asking around at the Smithtown rally, Short Round did come into contact with someone who might be useful. This someone is an undercover cop who can help them with the Mutt meeting. And it's an undercover cop who's infiltrated himself into Smithtown. So, in order to do that, though, Indy has to travel by trunk because they have to enter the Lion's Den. They have to enter Haight-Ashbury itself. And yes, Haight-Ashbury is the the wasp net of the hippie movement.
Oh yeah.
So we get to Haight-Ashbury. Lots of period details here. Vietnam protest signs and whatnot. Short Round's cab pulls up. We see a deserted, boarded-up comic shop that they're using as a temporary hideout. Indy gets out of a trunk and climbs into a giant, basically a giant trash bag. I don't know, just climbs into something. Help me out here, guys. Because he has to get from the trunk to the comic book shop without any of the people along the streets of Haight-Ashbury noticing Indy, because, like I said, there's the paranoia of Smithtown members. So help me out. How does Indy get from the
So he
trunk?
needs to get to a comic shop?
Yeah, he's just like, basically it's just like they're parked in the back alley of the comic shop, and he just needs to get transported from the trunk to the back door without anyone noticing.
Well, could it be a big box?
Okay, it could be a big box, I
And they
guess.
can just say there's a new shipment of hippie headbands.
Fair enough, fair enough. Okay. So we see the comic book shop. Like I said, it's deserted and boarded up. Now Marion comes in, and of course Marion gives Indy a big ol' slap for going off and leaving them when they're trying to deal with the Mutt situation. Now Indy is feeling like a noose is tightening and regrets ever getting in bed with the Capones. And then Indy gives kind of a comedic line like, "Oh, Marion, I got in bed with the Capones, and now I'm swimming with sharks. And why in God's name am I surprised?" Okay, so now we meet, let me see, I have...
Is Joseph Gordon-Levitt we're meeting now?
Yes, we meet Joseph Gordon-Levitt, oh, I'm sorry.
That's not Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
No, that's Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, that one.
What the heck?
I apologize for the shirtlessness of this pic. It's just the only thing I could find of Joseph Gordon-Levitt looking kind of hippie-ish.
That's such a bizarre tattoo.
Right. I think it fits with his character, though. Okay, so Joseph Gordon-Levitt is an undercover cop named Sparky Alistair. And he's just kind of casually smoking a joint, and we also meet Sparky's half-sister. This is going to blow your mind, guys. You ready for it? You ready for it? Sparky's half-sister, Summer Scott.
What?
Summer Scott. Willie's daughter.
Oh! Okay.
Played by Chloe Grace Moretz.
There we go. Okay.
You had to bring Willie into this, huh?
Willie, this girl is not Indy's father, or I'm sorry, Indy is not this girl's father, because, you know, Indy was sensible enough to not have any children with Willie, but,
of course.
Basically I see this girl as kind of like a way to redeem Willie in a way. Willie is already dead in this universe, I'm sorry, R.I.P.
Because everyone was wondering, Willie, won't he? Huh? Okay.
What'd you say?
Willie's dead, and this girl has survived him, and this guy is, Willie's, the half-brother,
There we go. Okay, half-brother of Willie Scott's daughter.
Right. Okay. And
little
she is
convoluted, but okay.
like I said, she's named Summer Scott.
There.
Okay. So Sparky is basically like, look, I can't help you out directly because I need to stay incognito within the gang. You know, I can't give away my position. But all I can say is that I know that Mutt Williams is not in good company. His situation is not good, so... You know, so Reggie Smith, he might be telling you that he's planning a family reunion. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. So Indy and Marion are very hesitant about it. Indy wants Marion to just stay there, but Marion is very insistent that she comes because, you know, of course, it's her son. So at the meeting, this is where things turn truly dark. We see Reggie rally around his Smithtown soldiers, just a big group of college kids who are just kind of transfixed with Reggie. And we see the traitor, Mutt Williams, tied up. And Indy arrives just as Mutt's sacrifice is underway. Now, while Indy and Short Round try and stop them, they're quickly apprehended by Smithtown members. Reggie yells at Indy that this is a great father-son reunion indeed, as Mutt is getting stoned to death. And the most heartbreaking thing about this, it's a clean-shaven Mutt. It's a clean-shaven Mutt to remind Indy just how Mutt looked before he went off to Smithtown.
Ah. Cool.
Yes. So as Mutt is getting stoned to death, and, you know, it's nothing graphic, it's like, it's implied, but you don't see any blood or gore or anything. But, you know, of course, we just see Reggie's influence. That's the dark thing about it, is that...
Feels like the R-rated scene from Holes.
Pretty much, you know.
Throw him in a hole and throw rocks at him. Yeah.
Oh
Take that for Transformers 2.
god, oh god.
And that's for all that. That's for all that baghead stuff. Wearing that bag on your head. Wore a bag on his head, so I'm not famous. Sorry, obscure gag.
So Indy and Short Round are reprimanded, and also Doe and Marion are carried away by a different group of Smithtown members. And then we see pretty much an awesome reveal where, you know, Indy's freaking out, he's panicking that Mary's kidnapped, so is Short Round, and then we see frickin' the made man, Dave Bautista himself, come out with a goddamn Tommy gun and start mowing down the Smithtown members.
Nice.
And, you know, the classic 1940s Italian car pulls up, Indy gets in it, Reggie retreats into his motorcade, there's an impromptu chase between Reggie's motorcade and the classic Capone mob car. The made man is firing a Tommy gun at Reggie. Reggie gets away, and Short Round and Indy are now indebted to the Capones because they bailed them out of the Smith raid. And then, meanwhile, back at the pizza joint at Fisherman's Wharf, Enzo calmly explains the situation to Indy. He says, you know, now, Dr. Jones, I know that this is a bit of a crisis for your family, but keep in mind, finding the location of my uncle's vault has been a crisis to my family for decades, so I think my crisis takes precedence, Dr. Jones. And we just bailed you out. We just saved you from an unwinnable situation. And then Dr. Jones, Short Round is basically kind of panicked, and he kind of just explodes. He's like, are you crazy? Our wives are being held captive by those maniacs. Screw your vault. And then this is where Rizzo Capone, Kristen Shaw, who's been kind of quiet, she snaps. She goes crazy. She pulls out a pocket knife and grazes Short Round's cheek. Indy grabs her hand, gets the knife out of her hand, and retreats the knife back into Indy's pocket. Kind of just like a badass Indy move, like, oh, no, you don't. But the fact of the matter is that we see Rizzo Capone just basically just lose it, snap, like, you're going to help us or else. And then D'Onofrio, he's just kind of, he's just, Indy's kind of trying to reason with them. He's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. He's like, look, I know you need my help with the excavation, and I promise I will be there, but there's more important things to deal with right now for me. And then D'Onofrio walks up, gets in Indy's face, and just delivers this chilling message to him. He's like, I'm going to let you leave, but that's just because I'm a nice guy. Mark my words, Dr. Jones. Once you owe a favor to the Capones, you will repay that favor. You two have a good night. And that's the end of Act 2.
Yeah. Sandy, do me a favor. Can you give Tiki a minute of feedback here? I need to leave the room for a moment. I'll be right back. Take the lead, please.
All right, Sandy, what do you think?
Oh boy.
Yeah,
I think this podcast is going to be longer than any indie movie we've done yet.
Well, I think that's, I was expecting that kind of going in. But,
wow, just all the details. The detail, it's kind of blowing me away. Like, you have this all written down, you're reading it?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Wow, it's like a whole, 100-page book here.
No, it's not a 100-page book. It's probably more like 20 pages, but...
I'm kidding.
So Indy between having to fight the cult and then kind of having to owe the Capones, kind of having to work with the Capones and that distracting him from the storyline with the cult.
Yeah, I think it's great you put these two together, these two different clashing, well, not clashing, but these two different stories, and just kind of put them together as one, because that's something we haven't really seen before in Indiana Jones. I think probably the closest thing we've seen to that is, I guess that would have to be Indiana Jones 4. The whole, I don't know, the whole Mont Williams and Indiana Jones side story.
Right.
But I think it's really, really interesting. It's definitely quite the story. You definitely have it all written out.
Do you like the whole concept of Smithtown and the paranoia that creates?
Yeah, I mean, that's not really something I know a lot about. I mean, as like a real life event. But
Well, like I said, I'm taking a lot of cues from the Jonestown event.
yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea what Jonestown even is. So this is kind of all new for me.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's all really interesting, and it's quite intriguing, I have to say.
All right, Dragon. So,
Well, I'll tell you. I love the Capone stuff, Teague, but I gotta tell you though, I'm a little. I don't think you're. I'm having a hard time buying into the hippie, the hippie cult thing.
Are ya?
I'm saying I'm feeling the Capone stuff more than that. I mean, I don't know. There's like maybe it's either. I think the Capone's just simpler, and I kind of like that. It's a simple kind of they need this, and you owe a favor to the mob. And I think it's a little easier to sell than the kind of the cult stuff. It's not just the cult stuff. Like, okay, you have your leader who is manipulating people. I get that, but I think just we're kind of going to this. I don't know. I love mowing down the guys with the machine guns. That was awesome. I just wish I kind of had more of a clear context with that because I'm kind of getting lost in all the hippie stuff.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily meant to be that complicated. It's basically Jared Leto's character is trying to make the compound in Africa. He's trying to move all his people to Africa. That's essentially his main goal, just like Jim Jones wanted to do with Jonestown.
Right.
And so he knows about the vault. He has people who have been kind of eavesdropping on the Italians. And so he kind of knows about the vault, and he wants to get to the vault. And essentially the third act is going to basically turn into a race between the Capones and the cult to get to the mob. And you want the Capones to get to the mob, to get to the vault. I'm sorry, to get to the vault. You want the Capones to get to the vault because if the cult gets to the vault, then that's kind of basically vast resources for this cult, and his Smithtown concept is going to go into fruition. We all know what happened with the Jonestown concept. That was like the biggest massacre of human life in American history up until 9/11 when that happened. So essentially, like I said, it's like the Capones are basically just kind of the muscle of the movie, kind of the muscle villains, whereas the cult is kind of like they're the more scary villain, and it's personal now because of the Mutt thing, and because they have Marion, and because they have Doe. We're going to see more with Marion and Doe in the third act, so...
Okay, so Act 2 then.
Yeah, who wants to... I guess Dragon will go with his Act 2, and then Sandy will go with his Act 3, and then I'll go with my Act 3.
That sounds like a plan.
Sounds
All
like
right.
Okay.
Okay, so here's my Act 2. Okay, so Indy Awakens. Alone with Indy Awakens. Sandy, sir.
What?
You got that squeaky chair again.
I'm like cursed with squeaky chairs. Like no matter what chair I get, it always ends up squeaking a little bit. This one is a lot better than the other one. It's just when I lean back, like I'm drawing stuff right now, and when I lean back, it starts squeaking. I'm sorry. I'll turn my microphone off.
Anyway, so Indy Awakens alone with the costume laid out just as Curtis. By the recap, Curtis. So that was a mislead. Hope you liked it. That I was playing Curtis as kind of the Marcus Brody. Sorry I had to lie with you, kind of Mr. Robot style there, but it was for reveal.
Oh, shit!
So I'm starting to trust you a little bit, though, and we're getting there. Our Mr. Robot reference. Anyway, the point is this: the idea of Curtis is kind of like an evil James Bond for the film. He's you literally kind of it's the closest you're going to get. Indiana Jones against James Bond. She worked with James Bond in Last Crusade.
Of course, of course.
It's actually it's kind of shown like the whole another purpose of the espionage 007 kind of parody of this film is that it's shown why Indiana Jones is different from James Bond. Not necessarily as skilled, but skilled in his own way. Showing like kind of the low tech James Bond versus the high tech kind of super skilled James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he represents. Kind of again, he's so unassuming. Seems like kind of a bumbling Marcus Brody type we all come to know and love. As again, James D'Arcy's known to play and play very well. I wanted to go against type there because I looked at him and said, man, he kind of like, put him in one of Connery's suits. He actually could look like a decent Bond. Seriously, look at the guy. Actually, he kind of looks like a clean cut Bond.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Kind of
occurred to me. That's why, because I switched him out with another Arrow actor. I switched him out with Colin Solomon, who was Jared Sands in Limitless, and also Walter Steele, Oliver Queen's stepfather in Arrow. So he was my original pick, but I thought James D'Arcy would be the more unassuming, like, oh, these things into the funny comic relief. Nope. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Act 2, Indy awakens alone with his costume laid out, just like Curtis said. Curtis, I looked into the name. Curtis is kind of a link to the words courteous. So basically, the idea that Curtis is like the most polite, he's so polite he genuinely does admire Indiana Jones, and then throughout the course of the film, he's going to get more beaten by Indiana Jones. He's going to get more less pleasant towards Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So Indy, he puts the costume on. He's guided to this kind of grandiose Bond villain-esque lair, kind of this big, spacious, glorious kind of area. A lot of really great color palettes and stuff. A lot of glass here and there. You got some green, some blues, a lot of silver. It looks really nice. So Quincy. Quincy is with Indiana Jones' weapons on a table to the side there, just kind of eyeballing, like, the gun, the holster, the whip. He's just kind of looking at him on the table and says, "What kind of man uses a whip?" It's kind of picking up, again, showing kind of the Bond side, like, our British Bond villains kind of looking at Indiana Jones, what their thoughts are, like, who uses a whip? Again, they've used everything else. And so it says, then our big guy, oh boy, I'm really proud of our main villain.
Okay.
So our main villain finally steps out of the shadows, and we play kind of like Ernst Blofeld from the James Bond. He's in shadow, he's obscured as we've played in the first act. Now he kind of steps this, hush, Quincy. Show our guest respect. And then Quincy pulls a chair out for Indiana Jones to sit, just showing the domination this guy has over Quincy. Indy's first question is, where's Sala? He says, with the good doctor being his friend, Dr. Hastings. With the good doctor, Alma, who is his Bond girl, his Bond girl kind of right hand, kind of like Mercy from the Superman the animated, kind of like the right hand kind of girl. Have you ever seen Kingman's Secret Service? Just kind of the henchman.
Right, yeah.
Named after Alma Hitchcock's wife. We'll nod there, Alma. Alma, show them in. We meet the two of them just to show they're all right. Sala and our Kevin Kline character, Dr. Hastings. They all walk in. They kind of take their seats, and it's all kind of pleasant, just showing, hey, everything's on the level. No one's in trouble yet. We'll show them. We meet the two. It's glad to see you, that sort of thing. Like just showing. Now this is our actual Marcus Brody type right now. Our actual Marcus Brody type guy is Dr. Hastings. Say, oh hi, Indy, how's it going? The guy just does. He's more of comic. He's the most comic relief out of this film. Like the most pleasant. Like, oh, we love this guy. He's Kevin Kline, the most charming guy ever. Pretty much like Kevin Kline. Kevin Kline is literally the most charming Kevin Kline you've ever had. So I says, hey, everything's okay. Okay, we're all okay here. Our guy steps out of the shadows. David Landon. David Landon is the man in the shadows, and he's betrayed by the wonderful, the talented Michael Sheen.
Oh, yes! Yes.
Love that Michael Sheen. Michael Sheen from Frost Nixon, and also probably is best known for Masters of Sex, the show on Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
Does a really good job from what I hear. So, Michael Sheen. And here's how he looks. He has silver hair. He's kind of Michael Sheen's like in his late 40s right now. So I think we age him up a smidge. Not too much. He doesn't need to be as old as Indiana Jones. But he needs to be experienced. So he has silver hair. He also gives kind of a cool Bond look. Silver hair. He's got a black suit with like green lining on the inside, like a snake. He's got silver pinstripes on the suit. That's what he looks like. He's got like kind of he's got a cane, and it looks really cool. Real classy, real dignified. He introduces He introduces Curtis, who I know you've met Curtis, who has been monitoring. Basically, he's been monitoring Indiana Jones. After processing Hastings' research, we were going to reach out to you. Thank you for saving us a trip. You know, we were. That's why he was scouting him out with this sniper rifle earlier in the first act. So it was Curtis who was eyeing Indiana Jones with that sniper rifle.
Hmm.
Because he's monitoring Indiana Jones, and after they got what they need from this doctor, they would go after Indiana Jones to lead the expedition to get what they're looking for here. So, I admire your work, truly, as does Curtis. I admire your work, truly, as does Curtis. Because, again, Curtis is a big fan of Indiana Jones here. Quincy, not so much, but he only admires paychecks and guns. And basically, kind of our big Bond villain monologue, which also exposits kind of what we're looking for in this movie, our big kind of questionable item here. So basically, he explains why there's a Greek snake on the tablet here. It's the whole kind of history lesson. So, my father owned a bookstore. He read to me at night. My father owned the bookstore. Read to me at night. My favorite tales were from Greek mythology. Stories of men becoming gods or living up to them. You see, I was a sick child, not expected to live past my teens. One story in particular inspired me to persevere and live as I went in and out of hospital doors. The healing serpent, or to be exact, the rod of Asclepius. That's why I'm saying it, folks. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. It's the Asclepius, the rod of Asclepius. The rod of Asclepius, the healer. It was a Greek healer who had this rod. I figure like the magical healing came from the rod. It's a little leap of logic there. So it's make it an item instead of a guy. Sorry. He's a rod, and this is an actual thing, by the way, because Jacob pointed this out to us last time. I looked into this, and it is an actual noted misunderstanding. His rod mistaken for Hermes. Hermes had a cane sort of thing too. His rod mistaken for Hermes, which adorns hospitals with two snakes and a set of wings. That's where the hospital logo comes from. They were thinking of this, but they actually picked the wrong icon. They picked Hermes thing instead of this guy's.
Right.
It's kind of a mistake of histories. But no, the actual rod with one wooden snake. With one whittled, it's a whittled wooden snake on the design of this rod. One wooden snake contained healing fruit seeds and herbs. That made me believe there was a chance I could live a full life. I never gave up, or let life's opportunities pass me by, which led to my bold business decisions and vast fortune. Dr. Jones, we are similar men, history students. I don't sell artifacts, I trade them with other collectors. I profit off the ceremony of it all. The airlines, the car services, the hotels, the casinos, the entertainment. All perfectly legitimate. I've earned my life. I merely want to find what saved it and taught me to cherish it. Which basically led to Dr. Hastings' revolutionary discoveries, aiding us in our search.
Okay.
And here's basically established that the good doctor enlightened him to sorry. He tells Dr. Hastings to enlighten him to the brilliance of your research, please. To the brilliance of what you've discovered, to what you've told me. And then we get a little bit of our guy, kind of his personality kind of shine through. Well, not exactly like I have a choice, but he explains basically the mythology crossover here, and it's the all the while this is going on, it shows some action in the scene. Indy's eyeing the weapons on the table. He's trying to go for the weapons throughout the scene. It's the tension underlying the scene. He's going to go for the weapons and escape. So basically, Dr. Hastings here, Phil Hastings, by the way, Phil Hastings, he explains, and this is, I took some liberties on this, but I think it kind of makes sense, is that, different myths, different mythologies stem from similar motifs. That's essentially the idea. Like, they're healing seeds in Norse mythology as well as Greek mythology, only with Norse mythology, it's apples, it's apples that give you eternal life. And it's peaches in Greek mythology that gives you eternal life. So pretty much it's a different fruit, but it's the same idea. peaches and nectars in the Greek mythology, which kind of led to the idea. This is where it kind of leads our guy's usefulness to the bad guy here, which led me to the notion that the importance of the Egyptian snake might be linked to the importance of the Greek snake, which again leads to our tablet here. The tablet is proof of this. It's a Greek snake on top of an Egyptian tablet. And basically he mentions, well, I've been held comfortably prisoner here to help find the healing serpent, which links to the fountain of youth. Basically, sorry, just let me explain here. So the healing serpent links to what gave the fountain of youth its power. Basically, put the snake in any body of water, and basically it'll work. It'll give you a fountain of youth. That's the idea. And importantly, our guy he doesn't want the youth. Our guy just wants the item because, as I mentioned earlier, it was really important to him. It gave him the inspiration to live, essentially. And again, he lived past where he was destined to die, so he's just kind of obsessed with this item. He's a collector. The archenemy of Indiana Jones, of course, would be a collector. Someone just wants artifacts himself. By definition, this is important for the third act. He does not want to put it in the museum. He wants it for himself.
Nice. I like that.
And again, that's the big idea of this whole thing of Indiana Jones throughout all these films is wanting to put something in a museum. We've never seen it. So let's see. So Indy kind of deflates the bubble here by killing people. Basically, killing people in the process really turns Indy off to kind of the offer from Landon here. Why don't you join my effort? You lead the expedition. I'll pay you handsomely. Do whatever you want, Dr. Jones. Indy turns it down because you're killing people in the process. You don't care about these. You don't deserve these items, essentially. Then classic Bond villain fashion, our guy here is saying, well, before you die, how would you like to witness history? Alma brings in the Eyes of Fate, which is like basically an item they search that per Hastings, kind of like per Hastings instructions. Like, well, I need the Eye of Fates to kind of read the tablet. And they found the tablet, they get the Eye of Fates. I want to be clear with the items. They're very simple. Eye of Fates helps you read the tablet. Use the Eye of Fates to discover the location of what's on the tablet. The tablet gives you a location. The Eye of Fates helps you find out. The Eye of Fates is from Hercules. Remember Hercules? The whole they're all fighting over the eyeball.
Yeah.
That's the Eye of Fates. It's like gives you a location. That's the gag. So it's like a little item that they look through like a monocle. And hey, there we go. So let's see. So Alma the hench girl brings the Eye of Fates. Hastings uses it to discover a location, and importantly, throughout the scene, I should mention, Hastings is also signaling to Indiana just that I know what you're doing, because these two guys know each other a little bit. Says, I know what you're doing, Indy, and I'm going to distract them so you make your move when I lead them to this. Essentially, is what they're doing kind of through glances here. So they kind of give a nod, and basically through Kevin Kline's kind of comedic fashion, he just says, and the location is, he's stalling for the location. He says, yes, that's the location. Yes, sir, indeed. He signals Indy to move when he does that, and Indy tosses a chair he's sitting in right at Quincy, grabs the weapons. Someone pulls a lever. Indy and Hastings, they fall down this giant pit. A clear glass thing goes over the top, so apparently you can see down in there, but they can't climb out. It's like a deep little pit. With speakers in it, so you can hear all the stuff going on. Again, classic kind of like, it doesn't make much sense Bondian logic. Like, okay, well, why are there speakers in this thing? That sort of thing. So again, levers and pulled. Sala's on the surface, importantly, so just Indy and Hastings are down there. Curtis says, it was a pleasure watching you work. Again, very pleasant. Sala contends with, while they're kind of down there, they're falling down there in a pit about to contend with something horrible, kind of our creepy crawly scene per Indiana Jones film. Again, like a Bondian death trap too. So Sala contends with Quincy to little effect. Basically, even if Sala throws a punch at this guy, even if Sala's an older guy too, so I mean, he can't make a dent in this guy. Again, if you can't make a dent in Vinnie Jones, you're just beating just throwing Sala around like a sack of potatoes, really. So as Indy and Hastings here, they banter like in there. How you doing after all these years? You still have that snake phobia? As they hear still have that snake phobia, because again, our guy's obsessed with snakes and reptiles, as he kind of jokingly mentions. As you can imagine, I have a fondness for reptiles. I hope you'll note the rarity of your demise this evening. So basically, big Komodo dragons, and some deadly snakes.
Nice. I like that. I like that a lot.
And that's some cool. Really poisonous kind of deadly snakes that also fill the rooms that make Indy tense. So they fight off the. So basically, Indy fights off the dragons because those he can stomach a little more. And Hastings is not afraid of snakes, and Hastings actually uses the snakes. He uses the snakes' tails to kind of basically throw them around so you don't get bit by them. And also he uses the snakes. He basically makes the snakes bite. Makes the poisonous snakes bite the Komodo dragons, killing them. Like Just again, this guy's also studied snakes, so Indy didn't really go into the snake study because he's not too crazy about it, but this guy absolutely did. He knows everything about snakes. Use it. So he uses them against each other. Meanwhile, Sala he can't make a dent in Quincy, but he does break through the glass though. Basically, he opens the glass, and glass is raining down on him. Like, yeah, watch out, Indy, climb up, hurry! He helps. Indy tosses the whip, and Sala helps pull him up. Showing Sala is very useful in this situation still. He's helping Indy pull him up. Meanwhile, as they get up there, Hastings grabs a few snakes. We don't see this in the reveals. He has a few snakes, and he throws snakes all around the place. They're slithering all over the place.
Nice.
And one of them kills Alma. One of them kills the hench girl. Like,
oh god.
They use the hench girl. A chase ensues. It ensues through the compound. They're going down to the base of the parking garage. Basically a giant car museum the guy owns. Hastings leads the way because he's been in this compound as a comfortable prisoner for a while, so he knows kind of the way the place works. He goes down there. Curtis is in pursuit, our most dangerous Bond agent here, evil Bond, so to speak. Curtis pursues them. Basically, he and Indiana Jones get a little vague with the action here. Basically, they get into like an umbrella versus a whip actiony battle here. Kind of the gentleman spy with the umbrella versus kind of the average Joe Dirt guy with a whip. Really cool battle while hilariously, Hastings is searching for the keys. He's searching for the keys like there are billions of keys to all these cars. Anytime, Phil, anytime. I'm working on it. There are a lot of keys. And just Sala on the side. Hurry up, just pick a key. Well, which car? I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. They're bickering while this is going on while he's fighting a man with an umbrella. And then we see again all these classic 60s era British cars, a lot of them sporty. Then a chase ensues through the streets. We hear Beatles music is playing, and we're
what
kind
song?
of. I didn't think of that one. All right, I'm sorry. Just any Beatles song.
Can it be Help?
Okay, let's do Help.
Help! I need somebody. Help!
Okay, that works.
Not
That's a
just
good idea.
anybody. All right.
Okay, so they're driving really fast, and while Sala, and basically then our guys get on top of the cars while they're moving really fast. So he's on top of his car, and there's like a henchman driving the car while there's a henchman driving the car while Curtis is battling Indy on top of the cars. Like they're jumping over cars a little similar, basically a better version of what we saw in Crystal Skull. Like through the streets of London to Beatles music, they're fighting instead of just kind of back and forth in the jungle. Anyway, so as this is going on, then we have basically a drag race going on between Sala and the henchman because Sala's driving.
Mm-hmm.
And as it's going on, then the cops get wind of it. Now it's a big old police chase. They're following these two guys who are fighting on top of cars, and they're a drag race. It's insanity. And basically, the solution is I want the most anticlimactic. Like, what would Bond never do? What would our guys do at Bond? So basically, Indy then gets back inside the car, and he basically slow down. What? Slow down and take this turn. They slow down, take the turn, look less conspicuous, make a few turns down an alleyway. While our super spy, he's going to full speed, and the cops are pursuing. Now he's in his own police chase while they've escaped. So in the place they turned into, they kind of make another few turns. They kind of walk a distance, and they walk into a diner and kind of chat about their next move. What are we going to do now? They're going into a diner. Like the waitresses are they're hitting on Harrison Ford, essentially. Then he says married. Shows the way. Real cutesy.
Nice.
Yeah, show he's still got game. Anyway, so they enter a diner. They kind of plan their next move. I'm just going to blow through a lot of this exposition real quick here. It's basically Indy and Hastings, they catch up for a little bit there, and it's mentioned, important plot detail here, Phil's wife has passed away. So again, I want to show that the closeness between Indy and Marion, the closeness, like a brief moment of closeness between Sala and his wife, because he checked on her before he left. And now we have the fact that Phil, an old friend of Indy's, his wife has passed away in the 10 years since they've kind of known each other.
Mm-hmm.
Indy didn't know this, so he tells Indy the next stop is Greece. So that's because he kept the location to himself. So the bad guys don't know this yet. Says, okay, the next location is Greece. I don't know where in Greece. I didn't figure out which place. Greece in general, right? We have a certain location. It's not an iconic location. It's an underground. Sorry. Bonus. Next up is Greece. And we go to Greece. We translate the final location, which is absolutely where the thing is.
Okay.
Problem is we can't fly because Landon owns the air essentially. He owns all the planes. We can't fly out of here. How else are we going to get there? So then Indy, I'll call in a favor. So then we have a double-decker bus fight in the mean. Getting to the airship. You need to get to an airship. We have a double-decker bus fight going on. It's pretty hilarious. Again, basically Curtis catches up to him on foot and as they're on the bus and just climbs inside the thing through a window and they're fighting as the bus is going and Sal's kind of coaching the driver. Like, can you please go faster, please? Some solid comedy. Anyways, as they
That's great, Dragon.
So then Quincy and. Anyways, meanwhile, Quincy and Landon, they're on their way. They're driving to the airstrip as they kind of tracking Curtis's little tracker thing he's got on his collar or something, like his lapel or something. Indy takes some sharp blows. Importantly, this guy, he may not be kind of a big bruiser like Quincy, but still, this guy knows where to hit and make it hurt. So he's hitting poor Indiana Jones. You're like, and you got to remember, he's still sore from the last thing from a month ago. So Indy's in pretty bad shape right now. He's taking a few hits, and then basically looks like, oh no, Indy, how's he gonna make it? As they're basically now they're on the airfield. They're just kind of battling on the airfield at this point, and again, we think our bad guys are coming in. They're gonna get Indy again. They're like, oh no, and Indy he pulls out Mutt's knife from Crystal Skull.
Nice.
Pulls out Mutt's knife and he kind of cuts. At some point in the battle, basically a kind of classic kind of spy with the strangling wire inside the wristwatch. He pulls that around Indiana Jones. Look, he's gonna kind of strangle Indiana Jones to death. He pulls the knife. He kind of cuts the strangling wire, and just gives him a look of what this is Father's Day gift. Anyway, so then the plane arrives. A quick little one-liner. Plane arrives as our bad guys are driving up here. Our other two bad guys. Plane arrives, cutting the car off. It almost smashes right into the car. Lands, makes an awesome landing. Almost like a mid landing. Turns really awesomely, missing everyone, but almost killing bad guys. And it's revealed to be Short Round.
Oh my God.
That's Short Round, and basically
I totally thought it was going to be Jock.
No, it's Short Round says, "Come on, Dr. Jones, get in the plane, get in the plane."
Now, are you having Short Round being played by the original actor?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I'm giving him a chance, because he's still. I want a sense of history. They've done it with all the other actors. They pulled the original guys. I figure let's do that. It's Jonathan Key Kwan, if I'm saying that right. The original. He's 4. So remember, Short Round's 42 in this. That's what he actually would be, and that's what the guys in real life. So 42. Maybe a few years extra. Let's just say 42 is for the novelty of it. So I wanted him to be as young as possible. I can't really do that, so I'm going to say between 40 and 42.
Mm-hmm.
Point is, okay, so again, the plane's taking off. Our guys board the thing real fast. Short Round. The idea of Short Round, why he's flying the plane. Not Jack. I fear Jack has possibly passed away. It's been many years. I don't know. I would hope not, but again, this point is Jack. He's not in this film. Point is, Jack is sorry, not Jack. Short Round, because he was such kind of a proficient driver in Temple of Doom. The idea, I think, is such a proficient driver in Temple of Doom. He was good in other fields of transportation.
Okay, I like that. I can buy that.
I mean, at 12 years old, he was driving a car really excellently, again, with a box tied to his foot, so I figure he'd be excellent flying planes. Why not? Because I was thinking about any other way, because he's also going to be driving in later scenes, but again, primarily, let's have him fly as kind of an awesome entrance for Short Round. That's pretty much what I thought. Let's give him an awesome entrance. Okay, anyway, so as they're flying off, okay, our bad guys are safe. Then Curtis basically kind of pulls out from his pockets this little thing he clamps onto his wrist, and pretty much he grapples onto the plane secretly as it's taking off, and he's basically on the he kind of slips into the cargo hatch. He's under the wheel well, which kind of leads to the cargo hatch of the plane. And he basically, on his little communicator, he's got the Lincoln Dust to the bad guys who just barely were clipped by the plane. He's told to, okay, listen, shadow them until they reveal the location.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we still need to know the location. They'll do all the legwork for us. We find out, then you kill them. Understand? Says, yes, sir. So basically, stick in the shadows. Really ominous. Points our bad guys with our good guys, but they don't know it. So we had Short Round Indy. They catch up a little bit. We had Short Round is married with a child on the way, as a pregnant wife. Short Round, he's moved on in his life. He's got a family. Basically, Short Round begs to help because he's been aching for an adventure with his old mentor. Come on, Indy, let me help out. Please, come on, Dr. Jones, let me help out. What do you say? And help me get this need for an adventure out of my system. What do you say? And importantly, this is very important. Sal expresses concern of Indy, I don't think we should complicate things by adding more people. We already have the good doctor. I don't think we should have anyone else on this journey. Indy cockily, he says, well, we need a pilot anyhow. Literally, we do need a pilot to get from point A.
Right.
Come on. Basically, it's like the kid almost did it's like the guy almost did Puppy Dog Eyes on. Like, oh, come on. How can we say no to that face? Come on. Anyway, so then we're in Greece and we're in an underground location. Basically, it's like, we don't need to be anywhere specifically in Greece. Let's say we're in an underground location somewhere in Greece. And importantly, it's an underground location because we're in the Labyrinth of the Minotaur.
Oh boy.
And this is an actual Greek myth. Basically, there was a guy who did a criminal of some kind was kind of cursed to be a minotaur, and basically kind of be lost in this labyrinth forever. Basically, it's a place where they put essentially a criminal, a prisoner, inside this labyrinth. That's the idea. Mm-hmm. And I kind of took a cue from that. So the idea is we're in the Labyrinth of the Minotaur. A labyrinth is something we've never seen Indiana Jones in. Labyrinths are cool.
Yeah, that's true.
And basically the idea here, I kind of mixed some things here. I think through a clear. The idea is on a wall somewhere in the center of the labyrinth, which is how it's also an idea from Batman the Animated Series. They kind of lifted too. There was a Labyrinth of the Minotaur game parody. Mm-hmm. So again, an inspiration from a few animated shows in this whole picture. Anyway, so we're in the Labyrinth of the Minotaur. In the center, where the Minotaur is, by the way, there is he's the guardian of the snake. And the idea of the guardian of the snake is on the wall inside there is the location they need to go to, the location of the snake for the Fountain of Youth. And as a form of redemption, he is now transformed from a prisoner to a guard. He guards this secret. That's the idea. That's kind of his work release program for the ancient Greeks. So basically, here's the premise of the scene. I can give you the premise. It's a lot of fun action. I can only describe generally how it is. So as they go inside the labyrinth, they get lost initially. Indy knows his way around, so he's the only one who really knows his way around this place. It's very important. So they go inside. Remember, the labyrinth goes up pretty much there's maybe an inch above the wall, so it's very low. You can't just climb over it. You have to go through the maze. So as Hastings translates with the Eye of the Fates, he translates the notes on the wall. He kind of notes down what he needs and basically how he can find a location. All through the sequence he's doing. It's kind of like the sequence from Finding Nemo when they're read the mask while I'm dealing with the anglerfish, essentially. There's a giant statue of the Minotaur in the center of this place. Big stone statue of a Minotaur, giant, big old Minotaur, 8 to 9 feet tall. So meanwhile, Short Round and Solid, they're getting lost in the maze. They turn their back, they stay close, and they kind of get separated through the maze as they kind of hear echoes and stuff. Indy, where are you? Says, Dr. Jones, where are you? And as Indy rolls his eyes. Anyway, so they're going through the places he'll come back from later. He thinks the statue comes to life as they're in the room. The eyes start to light up. It seems like Indy thinks it might be some sort of mechanism thing. Hurry up, find out what the location is before the thing kind of might operate on a dime. We don't know how it works. The statue comes to life, essentially, and basically the stone and moss falls off, and it reveals, through bizarre Greek myth, it becomes a real guy. So again, it's the idea. It looks like a statue at first, and it basically kind of shakes off the moss and stuff, and you reveal it's an actual giant guy, giant muscle-bound guy.
Okay.
An 8-foot tall muscle-bound guy with a Minotaur. And the idea, hopefully Spielberg would do this with a perspective shot, so they wouldn't have to CG it. So they just make a big guy with kind of an awesome-looking mask on.
Uh-huh.
And awesome-looking mask on. This kind of leads to Indiana Jones contending with this giant Minotaur. It's kind of charging at him like a bull in scenes, armed with a giant blade, by the way. Armed with a giant blade charging at him in places. With, giant Minotaur. It's, big old head. Leads it on a chase through the maze. And remember who is lost in this maze, too, by the way. So he's leading it through a chase through the maze. He has no idea where the other two are. Meanwhile, Sala and Short Round are fleeing through this whole sequence as Indy's asking, there's neck. You can hear people throughout this whole thing. They can talk to each other from across the room. Indy's asking Hastings, Phil, can you speed it up? Please, can you speed it up? He's trying to contend with this thing. All this chaos is going. A lot of funny, one-liners, one-liners and some action here again, like going down different passageways, like, oh no, dead end, other way, he's like sliding in between the Minotaur's legs, stuff like that. Indy tricks it into getting lost in the maze until it gets really frustrated and becomes so enraged and so strong it becomes a battering ram and goes through all the walls. And Indy just, again, out of one mess into another, like Indiana Jones. Hastings finally gets the translation at the last minute. Says, I got it, Indy, I got it. And basically he has to pull Hastings right out of the way before it smashes right into him. Because that's like the sturdiest wall. And the Minotaur, it falls down. And let's see. So after the Minotaur falls down, they're all like getting out of there as fast as they can. And, like, Indy's the last one, kind of hanging back there. And importantly, so Hastings out there with the translation just in time. Curtis is listening with a listening device on the wall. He's hearing, and basically they reveal the locations in Africa. It mentions Africa. It's Africa. It's like he'll give like a West or East Africa location. He'll give some sort of location in Africa. It's in Africa. You see the destroyed body of the Minotaur in a really poetic moment, kind of like the knight from Last Crusade. It's revealed that kind of the body of the Minotaur. It removes a costumed head at the end, because basically it stops looking through like a little fade out. It kind of looks less monstrous. It kind of scales back down to Dave Bautista, who will play him.
Oh, here we go.
Who, by the way, I just want to say throughout the whole sequence, like Dave Bautista would do the reference ideally also. So basically, Dave Bautista was the Minotaur, and I just want to give like a moment of humanity to the Minotaur, where he removes
that's actually fairly awesome. I approve of that.
So basically, after the Minotaur's been defeated, he takes this fake Minotaur head off after he kind of fades from less menacing. It gives a sad look to Indiana Jones and like a nod of respect of like, thank you for putting me at peace. You've earned the secret. And he fades away like. Shoo. Okay, almost done. So last bit here, then, with the last little thing here. So anyway, let's see. So Curtis, as they're walking out of the thing, like they're literally just right about to walk out of the labyrinth here, little hallway leading to the labyrinth. Curtis appears. Bum bum bum. Thanks for the location. And he has like a bunch of small charges around the entrance. And he basically, thanks for the location. Ta ta for now. Like bye bye. Something charming. And basically he blows the doorway of the ruins. So basically, they're trapped in there now, and he knows the location. He knows it's Africa, so he's off to beat him to the punch. So then, this is funny. So then it's mentioned that there's a. Well, do you know any other ways out, Hastings? Well, yes, but you're not gonna like it. There's a snake tunnel alternative route that freaks Indy out the whole way through. Short round blindfolds as Salah's singing to him so he can't hear the snakes. Like, oh, it was like the song, maybe the song from Raiders, just Salah's sing, maybe a Beatles song perhaps. He's singing something he heard on the buzzers. And Salah's singing while Short round puts a blindfold on them as they get her. Then they fly off, and that's the end of Act 2. They fly off in the plane. Now they're heading to Africa. That's the end of Act.
Okay. All right, Sandy, I know this is like going really late for you, so do you want to just kind of quickly wrap up with your pitch and then sign off?
Yeah, I think that might be best, because if you guys still have, if your guys' pit, the rest, Act 3 is like as long as what Act 2 is.
Yeah, I still have an Act 3, and Dragon still has an Act 3 as well.
Yeah, what did you think of ours so far?
What we could do technically is we could just end it right now and do all of our Act 3s tomorrow, and Sandy, that would give you a little bit more of a chance to work on yours.
I'd rather just do it now, to be honest.
Okay.
I'd rather just get it out of the way, because I really don't want to work on it anymore, because I have a lot of other stuff to work on.
That's understandable.
All right, so
go ahead.
All right, so here. So, like everything else, it's pretty cramped in here. Definitely not as much detail as your guys' acts or anything. So, Derek meets them halfway there. They've found the Noah's Ark filled with treasure in the cave, and Derek meets them there as he and his men have been following them the entire way, letting Jones do all the dirty work and clearing the way for them to come in, take the treasure, kill Jones, and walk away disgustingly wealthy. Derek reveals this plan to Jones and then tells his men to take as much treasure as they can fit, right before he pulls a gun to Indy's chest. But their plan backfires as Leo, who's there unbeknownst to Derek since he only had memory of hiring Jones for the job, he starts shooting at Derek's men. This starts a gun and fist war as Jones tackles Derek. Leo accidentally sets off a booby trap in the cave, and the place starts filling with water and deadly water snakes. It's a rush to escape as most of Derek's men get trapped in the cave, and of course we all know what Indy's going through with the water snakes and whatnot. Well, Derek himself and the rest of his men chase after Indy and Leo, who have just escaped, like in the nick of time. Leo and Indy swing by a vine over a deadly jungle swamp as many other obstacles as Jones and Leo are finally trapped by Derek. They're cornered against a tree or something. As Derek is about to kill the two of them, the stone from the cave that's filled with the ocean water busts. Indy grabs hold of a vine, and Derek and his men are swept away into a swamp, gone forever. Suddenly, a gun cocks behind Indy's head as Leo has now finally revealed himself to be working against Jones. This comes to a great surprise to Indy, as Leo explains that after they had finally found the treasure on Noah's Ark, it was pointless to share it with Jones, as when he could take it all for himself. This, of course, raises the question of how he'll get back, as he simply replies that he'll take the boat that Derek took and load it up and be on his way. Of course, Leo doesn't entirely think this plan through. Is just kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing, and he tries climbing down, but he slips from the vine and is now hanging off the edge of the cliff. And he grabs Leo's hand, still considering him a friend, but he can't hold on, and Leo falls down into the ravine. Feeling sorrowful and sad, this is where it gets a little bit corny. I mean, I was just kind of rushing right now when I wrote this. Feeling sorrowful and sad upon the supposed death of his friend, he starts sailing back off the island. It's then when he realizes there's a cavern on the side of the island, spewing water and mud into the ocean. And he hears something on the side of the boat and looks over and sees Leo, who is now bruised and dazed, and maybe has a bone broken or two. I don't know. Jones blows up in excitement to see his friend and helps him up. Then he scolds him on what he thought he was doing. Leo now realizes how twisted his intentions were and begs Indy to forgive him, and naturally, Jones does. The two sail off as they discuss their next adventure, deciding that the Ark and the treasure is better off left alone. No need to criticize that. I know how bad that was.
Sandy, you had some good ideas in there. I feel bad for you because, like I said, it's like we've been working on this for months, and we were kind of just like, well, it'd be fun if Sandy and Jacob did a pitch too. So don't feel bad, man. Don't feel bad. You were under a lot of a time crunch. So.
And to be completely honest, I wrote pretty much all this in like an hour. And I don't have a whole lot of free time these days.
Fair enough.
All right. On that note, I apologize, guys, but I gotta skedaddle. It's pretty late here.
Let me quickly mention what I liked. I really liked, I loved the Leo character, and I really loved the opening act, the whole the volcano thing.
Yeah, honestly, that was my favorite part too. Was the whole Hawaii thing. In all honesty, I wish I would have put the entire story in Hawaii, because looking up, pictures and everything of Hawaii in the '60s, it was really beautiful and would have made for a great set piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And I never thought to use Hawaii as an Indiana Jones set piece, and Sandy, I'm almost kind of jealous because, I'm the tiki guy, so.
Yeah, I actually thought of it because I have this big Hawaiian poster up in my room here. I just looked up on my computer, and I was like, oh, it's Hawaii, okay.
Being more embarrassed, I never thought about setting Indiana Jones around a volcano. That's awesome! How has no one ever thought of that?
And having a Paramount Mountain fade into the volcano. Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised they never used that before.
Yeah.
All right,
well, shadows. You got a volcano.
Sandy, I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna copy and paste all the notes I have for my third act pitch, and I'd like some feedback on your own time if you don't mind.
Okay. All right.
So,
Do me a favor, just watch the video and tell me what you think of my of my ending. I have a really awesome ending for just my whole thing here, third act.
Okay. If there's any way you guys can narrow it down. I'm not reading it for an hour.
I mean, literally, I'm talking about literally the last scene I'll describe is the one I'm talking about, the last ending scene.
Okay, so are you gonna do that now, or are you gonna?
Well, I'm gonna say at the very end of the pitches we do. I mean, just when you watch, hopefully when you watch the video or something. isolated. You know?
Okay.
All right, bye, Sandy.
All right. See you guys later.
Laters. All right, and on that note, let's get into my third act. Let me scroll up. I have a lot of notes to cover.
Third act.
Act 3. Okay, so Indy and Short Round return to Short Round's Pizza Parlor to find Summer and Sparky. Indy instantly punches Sparky in the face for not stepping in. Sparky says, it's okay, you know, I get it, tensions, but look, Dr. Jones, I warned you, I couldn't blow my cover, but the good news is I already have other people on the inside who know where Marion is, all right? We know where Marion is, we know where Doe is, they're trying to get them as we speak. And then we also find out that Summer is going to be partaking in breaking Marion and Doe out as well.
Yeah. Oh. Sorry, folks. My associate. Oh, there he is. Hello. He is. Hello, you there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You cut out for I was worried about your second. But continue.
Okay, that scared me too. Okay, so as we see the siblings leaving the pizzeria. I'm sorry, my notes that was weird.
Okay, leave the pizzeria.
The siblings are. Yeah, they're leaving the pizzeria, and we see the man and some of Capone's goons. They're waiting in the wings, and they come in and attack Indy and Short Round in the pizzeria. And Indy and Short Round are thrown into the truck of the famous kind of 1940s Capone car. And then Indy and Short Round, kind of in a comical scene, are trying to escape from the trunk. They're, trying to punch it like, put your weight on it. No, on this side. Come on, we have to get out of here. And they finally do burst out of the truck. They get it open, and they retreat out Fisherman's Wharf. And Dragon, I've got a few visual aids for this chase scene on Fisherman's Wharf.
Okay, be careful.
So they are on. We see a chase scene on this carousel. This carousel is unique because it's double decker, but the second decker is. Or the second story, you know what I mean, is like basically like really small. So I figured this could be a good use of some set pieces, of a fight scene where they're jumping up and down from the first layer to the second layer. Also, you see those spinny things. They're kind of like teacup type things. I figure we could get some good action comedy out of that as well. But the Maid Man and Indy they fight and they get knocked onto the docks. And Dragon, one thing that San Francisco for is lots and lots and lots and lots of sea lions.
Well, that I did see in Finding Dory.
So picture this: the Maid Man and Indy are trying to have their classic, knock 'em out, like white knuckle brawl. But just all these sea lions in the way, and it's just totally impractical.
So just like a moment of battle of like they're punching each other, and like, what's with all the sea lions?
Right. No, it's like the Maid Man is like seriously, he's really wanting to get to Indy, but the sea lions just keep getting in the way. And the sea lions are lazy as well. They're just kind of lounging around.
Like he almost trips over one. Like
right. That's what I'm saying.
Always.
So a boat actually comes and retrieves the Maid Man, while Indy is brought up to the wharf by Short Round, who retrieves a wharf. I wrote for him. Okay, and then let's see. After that, so Indy gets back onto the pier with Short Round. Meanwhile, we see Marion and Doe are being held captive in Fort Mason. Now, Dragon, this is a location I'm particularly fond of. Not that, but this. This is a real army fort that is located like right on the edge of the Golden Gate Bridge. I think it's a very scenic location, and and you see that flagpole there?
Yeah.
Don't forget that flagpole. That flagpole is going to come back. All right? That flagpole is going to play a role. That's all I'll say about the flagpole. But you like that location, right? It's an army fort just in the shadow of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, so Marion and Doe are being held captive there, and Doe is trying to teach Marion a meditation that she learned in Vietnam. It's briefly working for Marion until Marion sees a Spifftown member walk by, and Marion just tries to spit in their face. You know, Marion, she's trying, but she's still feisty. Meanwhile, Summer comes in to give them water, but also slips them a knife. The knife, of course, they use it to cut their bonds. And then we see Marion and Doe start to escape the fort with Summer, and then Sparky is kind of waiting out at the waiting out with Smithtown. He's got a transport vehicle. And essentially, this is a Wookiee prisoner scheme. So remember that Sparky is an undercover cop. He's basically saying, like, hey, look, the main guy told us to, to retrieve these two prisoners and bring them somewhere else.
Well, it looks like a Wookiee in this version, I imagine.
That's what I'm saying. So the whole scheme is that they're basically just being like, look, prisoner transport. Okay, anyways, we see, oh God, okay, this is one of two cameos that I'm really proud of.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, we see Indy and Short Round on a trolley car, and they're going up a really steep hill again. No action, no chase, just going up a steep hill. And they see, they suspect that they're being tailored by a Smithtown member. And it looks like a Smithtown member. It looks like a very, very, very hippie-ish Mr. John C. motherfucking Riley. John C. Riley is actually another undercover cop working with Sparky, aka Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So John C. Riley passes Indy a note. It's revealed that Marion and Doe are being held captive at Fort Mason. And then I'm really proud of this beat. Indy and Short Round just exchange comically exasperated looks as they realize they have to switch trolleys after climbing up this massively steep hill. Like, oh, crap. Other way. Okay, so meanwhile, I kind of like this. Doe and Marion are kind of holding their own in a cool all-women Indiana Jones action scene as they're fighting the Smithtown members alongside Summer. They reach Sparky and they drive off. Then we see Short Round and Indy reach the Golden Gate Bridge. And, oh god, okay. So I had to work one snake in here, alright? I had to work one snake in.
I hate snakes, Tiki! I hate them!
So you know how there's, like, sometimes you'll see, like, crazy eccentric people in San Francisco with, like, animals around their shoulders? Sometimes they'll have parrots, sometimes they'll have snakes.
Sometimes goldfish, yeah.
Okay, so we see one particular, like, older bearded man. So he's an older gentleman, so there's not really a paranoia of him being part of Smithtown. And he's got a giant boa constrictor just around his shoulders, just taking it out on a walk. And can you guess who I got to cameo in this uncredited cameo?
Nope.
Tom Hanks.
I don't know if thanks to go for having a snake around his neck, but okay.
This comedy that ensues with Indy and the snake, but then Dragon, Indy spots him, the made man. Hand-to-hand brawl on the Golden Gate Bridge is about to ensue, but we quickly cut away, and we see that Reggie with the Smithtown members have overtaken the homeless tribe on Alcatraz. This is a dark bit. We don't really see much detail, but we see that it's implied that Reggie orders the Smithtown members to essentially massacre the Native Americans. And as this is going on, like I said, we don't see any blood or gore or anything. It's just kind of implied.
They're scalps. They're scalps. They're beautiful scalps. Try one. No, sorry, wrong. That's an obscure musical reference. Go on.
Okay, we see more and more of the Smithtown members are becoming unsettled at the actions of Reggie and what they're being forced to do under Reggie's guidance, and Reggie is getting more and more unhinged. Marion suggests to Sparky, meanwhile, as they're kind of driving around, that they stop at the Palace of Fine Arts as a safe spot. Emma rushes out, and it basically exposits, because remember Emma being our sociology professor, exposits that Zimbabwe, the location that Reggie Smith wants to set the real-life Smithtown is one of the most prominent cultures for religious sacrifice. And it's speculated that Reggie wants to leave his mark on the history books in a very brutal and dark way with what he plans to do at Smithtown. He essentially wants to have his whole congregation sacrifice themselves. That's kind of pieces that they're putting together, because keep in mind, Emma has been kind of conducting a long-form investigation into Reggie's cult as a sociology major, so she kind of puts the pieces together with Zimbabwe. Anyways, so the brawl on the Golden Gate Bridge ensues. I should probably pull up the Golden Gate Bridge picture, not John C. Reilly. Okay, so the brawl on the Golden Gate Bridge ensues. This is where we get some cool action. You know, Indy kind of swinging. I want to have at least one shot where Indy swings from one of the ropes out over the ocean on his whip. You know, you can do it with a stuntman, you can do it with CGI, whatever. I just want to see Indy swing from the Golden Gate Bridge with his whip. I want to see that happen. And of course, Dragon, this is our knockout bare knuckle fight with the big kind of final boss battle with Dave Bautista. You know, this is our classic kind of like big muscly man at the end. And essentially what happens is they... Can you see the arrow?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So they're fighting on this portion of it right here, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of they're hanging off.
Like in the middle or on top?
Like not on, kind of like where my
Okay, so literally where, I just want to make sure it's literally where you're.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and essentially Batista falls.
Yeah.
And he falls right onto the flagpole.
Nasty.
Yeah. Right onto the flagpole.
Can you get away with that for PG-13?
Hopefully.
Because remember,
how about the camera cuts away right as he's about to land on the flagpole?
Well, actually, wait, T, you're not going to believe this. I don't know if this applies for live action, but I looked into this recently. I was reading an article that Disney has like 3 rules for like 3 things you absolutely cannot have in a Disney film. It was beheading, smoking, and impalement.
Oh God!
So I don't know if that extends to the live action. I just know it's an animation.
Well, like I said, just to get away with it, we're just gonna have it like cut away right as Batista's about to land on the flagpole. But
I mean, the image of it though, of him on the flagpole. I don't know.
No image of him like impaled. Just we cut away right before it happens.
All right, I guess it's just like Indy's reaction shot. Then I guess.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
Okay. Anyways. So
are you gonna have him like say the cheesy action one-liner like "I pledge allegiance"?
Sure. That's great. Oh God. Vincent D'Onofrio and Kristen Shaw are waiting for Indy, waiting with a boat to go to Alcatraz. They're like, time's up, Dr. Jones. It's time to repay your debt.
Wait, I'm sorry, real quick. There's another really cheesy one. That's the American dream. Sorry.
Oh God. Okay. Meanwhile, Short Round is kind of at the top of the bridge, and he's approached by John C. Reilly. And John C. Reilly basically just tells Short Round that he knows where his wife is and to get in the car with him. Indy and the Capones arrive at Alcatraz, but they see that they're too late. They see that Smithtown has already gone to the vault. Reggie gloats to them. Smithtown has reached the vault. They're retrieving dynamite to blow off the vault's hinges as we speak. And Reggie essentially just gets into a monologue that I wrote out. Now picture Jared Leto performing this.
Wait, the monologue that was edited out, or the monologue that made it in?
Well, hopefully this makes it in.
All right, go on.
History is a strange thing, Dr. Jones. One can't just be a modest, everyday hero to get into the books these days. No. To really become a character within our charted mythology, one has to be a martyr. And that's exactly what I am. I'm leading them, Indy. And now he's calling Indiana Jones Indy, and that just gets under Indy's skin, and you just get a reaction shot of Indy just looking so pissed off when this guy calls him Indy. I'm leading them to the promised land, and it will be so beautiful, they won't know how to take it.
And history? How will history remember you, Dr. Jones? You're already a relic. Me? I'm gonna be infamous. For all time. Now, Dragon, one of the things that kind of led me to this conclusion that essentially our main cult leader's goal is to create a massive, just terrible event that just kind of leads him to infamy is the fact that he played John Lennon's killer. Jared Leto played John Lennon's killer, and John Lennon was murdered for a very similar reason. That the guy who murdered John Lennon essentially did it because of the media attention that he knew would come of it. So I thought this guy, I thought he was in a very similar trend of he wants to help people, but something snapped in his head, and because he's not getting the recognition he deserves, he wants to do something that's going to make damn sure that he gets into the history books, even if he's remembered in the history books in a very dark context. He's obsessed with his legacy, but he doesn't care if his legacy is a dark legacy or not. Okay.
That's really cool stuff. I like that.
Cool. Okay, so the hinges are blown off the vault, and this is kind of a play on the whole Geraldo Rivera event that actually happened when they opened one of Al Capone's vault. First of all, the vault visually is very small. It's kind of like Last Crusade style. It's like you expect it to be like this giant, bank vault, but no, it's actually just a glorified safe carved into the catacombs. And out falls just basically a few bottles of moonshine, which is actually the only thing that was retrieved from the Geraldo Rivera special was bottles of moonshine. And so the Smithtown members essentially start to turn on Reggie. Meanwhile, the police burst in because Joseph Gordon-Levitt's been working on an undercover sting the whole time. They have enough intel. They've kind of connected the dots that Reggie wants to get his hands on the jewels and then also move his entire congregation to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe being one of the leading regions for cult sacrifice. Connecting the dots, that's enough evidence to put Reggie behind bars. And Dragon, in the grand tradition of killing off Indiana Jones villains in brutal ways, I have a special treat for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Reggie panicked. He to avoid actually being apprehended. He has a whole bottle of fucking cyanide pills in his jacket pocket.
Oh god.
He takes him out, swallows him whole. And he dies a horrific death where his head is nearly exploding from all the foam, and the foam is spewing out from his ears, it's spewing out from his nose, it's spewing out from his eyelids. It's nasty. It's some nasty stuff. And so that is kind of like I said, there's no real supernatural element to the story. It's more about a guy wanting his own legacy. And so that's the brutal death. The brutal death is at his own hands. And, and of course it mirrors the death of Sola's son at the beginning of the film, but in an even more brutal way. Okay, so almost done here, Dragon, almost done. This is kind of like the aftermath. So we see groups of former Smithtown members in handcuffs being charted away from Alcatraz. Indy's reunited with Marion, Doe, and Short Round. Short Round quickly explains that, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is kind of quickly says, well, anything in the vault, I think it's rightfully the Capone's. D'Onofrio, he's still kind of pissed just because, the vault didn't have exactly what he was searching for. But Rizzo has come back from the hole in Al Capone's cell that led to the catacombs that held the vault. And she's holding a very musty jar that's impossible to see through. Meanwhile, Indy and Marion are looking wistfully out onto the Golden Gate Bridge and the city from Alcatraz. And they're reflecting on how they're pretty much done with San Francisco for another lifetime. And then you can hear something rattling inside the jar as Rizzo shakes it. Indy walks over to Izzo and Renzo as they open the jar, and Dragon, last shot of the movie, a Pulp Fiction style glow radiates from the jar. The credits cut as we're left to wonder if the jewels of the bay were really retrieved.
Huh.
All right. That's it. That's it.
Well, a lot of really good stuff in this, Tiki, but I tell you, it's just I got one big flaw with it. It's not a flaw; it's just the personal thing. The personal taste that really turns me off to it. Darn, you have a really excellent kind of Leto speech at the end there as the Reggie character. I don't know. I think it might I'm bad on this too with mine, and I hope I came with it well myself. But I mean, I think it kind of became a little convoluted with the cult stuff. I don't know. I mean, I like, again, the beginning of the cult stuff is excellent. You know, I like the setup. I think it just could have been a little more sparse because
like I said, I am kind of basing it on the real Jonestown thing. So the whole idea is they need to stop him from getting the jewels because he's going to set up that camp in Africa where he's going to do the mass sacrifice. So that's the stakes. That's the stakes, is stopping Leto from doing the mass sacrifice. And like I laid out in that speech, Leto wants to do the mass sacrifice because he wants to get into the history books by any means necessary. And he's kind of crazed by the fact that the media isn't giving him the attention he deserves.
No, I think it's just the balance of stories. That's all. Because again, I know they tie. Again, there's nothing wrong necessarily with your pitch. I'm just, it's in my personal preference. I don't know. It just sounds a little. I wish it was a little more streamlined. You know, that's all I can say. I mean, I know it's not. I can't really tell you.
Ironically enough, I think it's one of those situations where I had so much time to work on it that maybe I just kind of put everything in the kitchen sink into it.
Yeah.
Because I kind of started with like, all right, I want to see a fight on Fisherman's Wharf. I want to see Indy in the Golden Gate Bridge. I want Al Capone's vault in Alcatraz.
Yeah.
And, you know, like just kind of ballooned from there. Honestly, I didn't even have the 1960s idea and the Jared Leto as the cult leader idea until about halfway through. So, yeah, honestly, I did kind of marry those two. I do like the idea of two different villain groups kind of going after the same thing.
I mean, again, I like the Manson-esque figure. I like how, you know, his place in history and his place.
You like his demise at least?
I love, his demise is great. You know, I like how
it
ties into the Solo's thing. I mean, two things.
Right.
I don't know. I think you should have had like a button with Solo at the end a little more.
That's fair enough. I honestly just couldn't think of one. Because I wanted to end it right on opening the jar and wondering if the jewels were in the jar or not.
Like a phone call or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's that. And, again, I don't know. I think it's the hippie stuff that's getting you down for some reason. I can't really tell you how, but I think it's the hippie stuff that's kind of. I think there's like maybe too much hippie stuff somehow.
Is it the fact that maybe Reggie has too many resources, that it's a little that he basically has kind of people at every corner?
I think that's, again, I think just Reggie's a little too powerful in a way. It's like Reggie's, like, his plans just seem a little. Again, I like the end goal. The end goal is great. I'm just saying, it seems like the Africa stuff, it seems a little grandiose. I know it's based in real life. I'm just saying, it seems like his resources and everything, and it's like all his followers. And I think it was like a smaller, close knit group like Manson. You know, I know Manson. He's acquired.
Like I said, I was trying to kind of have it be a blend of Manson and
what was Manson, like 12 people
Jonestown.
or something?
Yeah, something like that, right?
Honestly, I think if you wanted 12 people, I think it'd be a lot more. Well, I think that might have fixed a lot of my.
But the problem with that, like I said, is just kind of like he needed the resources, though. He needed to be almost kind of like a powerful figure politically, like Jim Jones was.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, man. I don't know. Like I would, if it were me, T, that's all I can say is like me. I would stick more to one singular model and add like kind of character traits of another guy. But I know, you basically. I don't know. I'm sorry, Dave. Sorry, but I don't mean to pick it apart. Again, I do like a lot of stuff in yours.
It's good. It's all good.
Like, I'm just not clicking for it. So before we get into I need to ask. Is very important just to kind of get the feel of the third act. What do you think of my characters so far? Of the new characters, not the old guys.
Well, I like that you have a blend of the two. Of course, having Jarvis as the James Bond villain is a really inspiring.
As evil James Bond.
Yes. The Dave Bautista as a Minotaur is surprising and pretty creative. Overall, I think you're doing a good job. I really like the Greek stuff. I really like that you're kind of going in a little bit more of a fanciful direction than we've seen with the franchise so far, but it's kind of working. It's kind of in the same vein as Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but a little bit more grounded. like I say in the same vein as Kingdom of Crystal Skull, just because that was kind of exploring science fiction. This is kind of exploring more fantasy and mythology. But
what do you think of, like, the Kevin Kline character and the Michael Sheen character?
they're both great. Yeah, really good reveals.
Like, is Kevin Kline as striking as funny, or I just want to see if I'm going in the right direction?
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of hard to sell the charm and charisma of Kevin Kline, because I mean, he's just so great. Anyway, okay, so Act 3, and I just fed into just kind of a little recap of our characters you've generously provided. So, all right, Quincy is the great Vinnie Jones playing Quincy. Quincy is...
I forgot about him. He's probably my favorite of the original characters you came up with, by the way.
So Quincy... also, it's so funny. Quincy's like a medical examiner. This guy's the opposite, who he kills people instead of examines people. That's the other guy.
Right.
That was the other, like, that's what kind of clinched it with Quincy. Well, you know, there's also that gag. Anyway, so Quincy is just expositing to the Michael Sheen character, to Landon. Says, you know, I'm fed up with, look, I know I'm a lapdog, but I'm fed up being a lapdog without a use. I haven't killed anyone since Cairo. It's been a month.
Oh God, such a Gareth thing to say, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that in an adorable way.
That's what I'm saying. I had to make it like fun because unfortunately I didn't get to use him as much as I kind of had the James Darcy character to work with over him because like I had more awesome stuff than James Darcy to do. I was like, well, I mean, he was more agile and stuff. Vinnie Jones is just a powerhouse, and he's also really funny, you know. So let's see. So basically, you know, our big Landon saying, "Okay, patience, Quincy. Soon you will kill people, and you'll be generously rewarded for doing so. Just patience, please." Meanwhile, our plane ride with our heroes. They're basically, this is another little bit of an expository scene, but an interesting one and very important character one for later on. So it's basically theorized and kind of explained that basically. Why is the Fountain of Youth not where it's been reported to be over the years? Like, why is it not in Florida? You know, why is it not where Ponce de Leon said it was? You know, what's the deal? So the idea is basically it's a little bit of exposition, but hopefully a character serving. So basically, they're in the plane ride. It's established that it's theorized that there was a vein of the water. There's a Fountain of Youth. It's established in this one location in Africa, and basically it runs really deep into like all over the earth. And basically, they have all these spots all over the world where basically Ponce de Leon visited, and other people have visited over the years that have also had the Fountain of Youth's abilities. It's been bled through into other places. You follow me?
Yeah.
Again, it's like a vein that's kind of almost like an oil vein or a gold vein. It's gone over other places in the world, but the problem is people used it so much it dried up. They hit a dry spell.
Right.
That's why it's no longer basically Ponce de Leon, or again our villain also. Pulled a Ponce de Leon. He went all over the place looking for the item in question. He's kept getting the other alternative locations, not the original. So we use it so much, there's nothing left. Mm-hmm. Hastings is fascinated by its workings. Importantly, Hastings is fascinated by Greek mythology, as I mentioned earlier. Again, he hit the books. He loves the subject, and importantly, he's fascinated by the workings of this item of the Fountain of Youth quality. Again, he's more about the mysticism of the item, less than kind of the actual physical item itself, like the other guy. And he really hopes it's real because again, the implication of oh my God, Fountain of Youth, this could help tons of people. You know,
sure.
I mean, healing and youth restored, and this is also an important little exposition down below how it would work with Fountain of Youth. Is that that basically you get inside the water, it heals you and restores your youth. Acts as the ultimate do-over. Basically, you get one use for the Fountain of Youth. Basically, the rules are established here. You get one use, only enough to get rid you of your ailments. So you're not going to become a baby like Ponce de Leon, like the old version.
Right.
Basically, you go in there until you started to feel the first time you've ever felt crappy as an adult. So basically, the first time anything ever like you chipped the tooth or like root canal, like way back when it'll heal you from like any physical ailments or like signs of detrimental age.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be like you at your peak physical condition, essentially. Only enough to get rid of the ailments of age, and it only works for the worthy, only for the people who are deserving of this gift. Okay. Those are the three rules: one use, only enough to get you to the right age, and only if you're worthy. Those three rules. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah, following it.
Okay.
A lot more simple than Pirates of the Caribbean 4.
That's what I'm saying. I'm terrified of being overly complicated or convoluted. With
No,
this.
no. I think you nailed it down a lot better than that movie did, at the very least. So.
I got like 2 exposition dumps, and this is the second one's the only last one we got. So
Right.
Indy's intrigued by. Indy says he's intrigued by the reaction to the archaeological discovery. That's mainly what he's really interested by, kind of restoring the archaeological discovery. He's Ponce kind of ruined the name of the Fountain of Youth with this like theme park, in his opinion. So,
Sure, yeah.
So he's like, this would actually, restore it properly. Again, Indy, in many ways, restoring his own youth by kind of undoing kind of a big faux pas, getting back into what got him in archaeology, kind of finding the truth, finding fact, not truth, actually, I should say, fact. So, however, he does one. His little callback to all the movies, a little fun little callback where Indy says he warns Hastings. Well, when the legends are true, it never works out the way you hope. So I'm going to warn you about that. Believe me, I can tell you from personal experience. It never works out the way you hope.
Oh yeah.
Or just look at the Ark of the Covenant. He doesn't mention it. I'm saying look at the Ark of the Covenant. So they arrive and they're led to the Waziri village. Now let me explain. The Waziri village, it's a working thing because the Waziris are a fictional African tribe. They are a fictional African tribe created by Edgar Rice Burroughs in the Tarzan novels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And one of my favorite uses of them, I love them, and basically what kind of led me to settling on Africa as the final location was there's an episode of Tarzan, the Legend of Tarzan, the animated series, where they go to the Fountain of Youth in Africa. Mm-hmm. And that kind of inspired me. Okay, well, I was thinking about where to set the last act, because George Lucas was theorizing Africa as well. I was thinking, why did he theorize Africa? I looked into it, and I remembered, oh my God, Legend of Tarzan episode. He didn't get it directly from that, but maybe there's some sort of correlation. There's a little fanciful correlation in my own head, but The point is, so I don't know what the rights are that Edgar Rice Burroughs, because they returned the rights to John Carter's. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you're sure, because they returned the rights to make John Carter into a movie back to Edgar Rice Burroughs, so I don't know what the deal is.
I don't know. I was pretty sure that it was all just public domain.
Well, my point is, I don't know what Disney's stance is. So it's one of two things. One, if it's
I know Disney doesn't own Tarzan, that's for sure.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what Disney's usage rights are, because these are Tarzan characters. But my point is the name, the Waziris. So one of two ways. If Disney has the rights, let's just say it's the Wazir. Edgar, there's gonna be a throwaway line say, "Oh man, Edgar Rice Burroughs, he actually got it from something real. He actually got it from actual Waziri."
Right.
If not, I'm just using Waziris as a working title, but they're pretty much unofficially Waziris. The Waziris, by the way, they were really, really cool. By the way, again, I hate geography, by the way, because I had to look at so much geography to get this right, because Tarzan, the animated film with my eyes, is kind of what I was setting, kind of looking at, because again, Legend of Tarzan animated show, because they didn't really give you the location of this Fountain of Youth in their show, so I had no idea what to work with. I looked into the movie, and the movie's like it's around Uganda and Kenya, and I needed to go to a mountain range, and I wanted the Waziris from the book who were like. And I'm pointing to a lot of confusing stuff. My point is, I'm going with the cool Waziris from the west side. But they're located on the east side, all right, of the less than Waziris.
Okay.
Just go. I'm basically picking and choosing the best parts of the Waziris and putting them on this version. Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Point is, Waziris are really brave warriors and really wise elders. They're really basically the cool kind of. They're kind of like the cool Anthony Mackies of the Tarzan universe, because they're the really awesome kind of, supporting characters. They have one-liners. I mean, really cool guys. No, I'm serious, man. They're really just like the awesome kind of they're the Falcon type characters that you want by your side. That's what the Waziris were in the Tarzan animated show. That's the way they kind of read in the descriptions. Like Tarzan ran into these guys, and they weren't like kind of natives or cannibals. No, they're actually really helpful guys. They're the bravest warriors you could find.
Yeah, I got you.
Point is, brave warriors and elders, and the idea is like there's a legend going around that town where they kind of mention as they're finding a tour guide, and their tour guide is played by Lupita Nyong'o, by the way.
Nice.
Because she's in everything. I think I would love if she's kind of the Claire from the Marvel Netflix show, but for the Disney for the Lucasfilm division. So basically, she's in Star Wars: Force Awakens, and now she's in the Indiana Jones franchise. Okay. And then basically the legend is like as they're kind of asking around as they're getting their tour guides, like the Waziri elders had sampled the water years ago, which is again to my fictional knowledge of the Waziris as what they did. The years ago they sampled the Fountain of Youth, and that's why they're now the elders who have lived for a long time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically a few life. They go up the path. They run into the villains waiting. The villains are waiting. They beat them to the punch as they're going up there. They try to stop. And the villains try to stop Indiana. They enter kind of a cave along the way. It's basically a giant mountain. I don't think in geography and kind of the assembly of a mountain, I'm not too keen on the points. There's like this giant mountain. Then you get to the top of the mountain. Top of the mountain is where the fountain is. But along the mountain, there's like maybe a few caves within the mountain, getting from side to side. So points are going in one of those caves that leads to the other side. And there's a fun callback. I don't know how it works inside a mountain, but it's just really cool. They walk inside this mountain. It's a magical mountain. I don't know. They walk inside this mountain, and basically, again, like guns to them. They're told to walk inside the mountain so they can get some information or kill them like indiscreetly or something. Walk inside, and then Indiana Jones, he sees a giant boulder kind of wedged in the ceiling.
Oh my God! Yes.
And again, remember, this Indiana Jones, he's more smart. Like he's more smart and wise with his movements, like Henry Jones Sr. So he's just like a swift movement will do, like kind of a young Indiana Jones's epic fight.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, and remember, they were entombed in Greece, and all our villains are here, including Curtis, our James Bond, the guy who did that to him. So basically, he pulls out his gun, like they say, okay, drop, draw your weapon, put it in the air, that sort of thing. He does that, and he kind of gives a smile, and he shoots at the boulder, which drops on them, and they don't get crushed by it. It basically blocks their entrance, and it has a little callback. That's for Greece. Thanks for the idea. You can call him back the wise guy comment he had back in Greece.
Right.
The fact that the boulder came back, just showing you we're closing the loop now, folks. This third act is kind of taking us to the end of the Indiana Jones story. Boulder comes to save Indiana Jones instead of crush him.
That's great. That is
again snake eating the tail. That's the thematic story. Indiana Jones is kind of working his way through his fears and his trials.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Boulder. Importantly, Boulder is along a lot of rocks, is blocking them. Anyway, so then our guys are walking through. They're going to climb the mountain from the other side. They're walking through. They continue onward and fast to try and beat the guys with a punch. Before reaching the top, look, they're about to reach the top, and then something bad happens. Out of one mess into a much seriouser one. It's a very serious mess, I should say. They get up the mountain, and they're close to the top, and Quincy has dug through the boulder to kill Indiana Jones because he's been aching to kill someone this whole movie. And Quincy, we don't see him, but Quincy has been telling you who it is who's done this. There's a little red light. I think they had lasers back. They had little quartz lasers back in the 60s. I'll say it's a little red laser. Little red lasers on the back of Indiana Jones's hat.
Oh no!
Oh, like on his back or something. And Short Round takes the bullet.
Oh no! What?
He tries warning him. He shoves him out of the way, and Short Round is shot by Quincy.
Okay, are you gonna have a thing that mirrors the whole like, I go first, Indy?
Kind of. Is that bad?
Okay. No, I like that. I'm
kind of going the full circle thing. I mean, I
yeah,
consider
exactly.
I consider that, but it plays like that. It's minorly there again. Just to show you. And points. So Short Round takes the bullet. Indy's like they're all in shell shock. Like, oh my God, Short Round! It's like no, Shorty. He hits they all hit the dirt because basically they slide down to like another layer of the mountain. They slide down the mountain to save it as like a barrage of gunfires. Like before they can even process this, including Short Round's body. So he's also slid in, so they can hopefully revive him a little bit before they realize it's too late. So, they all slide down. The villains they're still in like a lower tier of the mountain. The villains are heading up to the top. They have the head start now. You guys slide down to safety. Short Round dies in Indy's arms. It's again an homage to the whole "I go first, Indy," but more like kind of a thank you for the adventure.
Nice.
Actually, no. Let's just make it more tear jerking. Thank you for the adventure, Indy. He's always called him Dr. Jones. It's the first time he calls him Indy. Thank you for the adventure, Indy. Tell my wife and son I love them, or tell my wife and child I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty traumatic, right?
Yeah, no, I wasn't expecting it at all, especially because Short Round kind of came in such a heroic kind of like, yay, it's Short Round, fan service, you know what I mean?
Yep. And also, we put him in the tomb, kind of like when he and Indy were trapped in the spike room.
Mhm.
We'll put him in the labyrinth, I should say. Anyway, so then Short Round's death. This is the low point of the film. We're starting the third because you would expect at the end of Act 2. But no, I wanted to end I wanted to begin Act 3 on a really down note. So Short Round's death just breaks Indiana Jones. He is bereft. He is just, and Sala just snaps at Indy. This journey was a mistake. Says, I told you we shouldn't burn. Why did I even? Basically, why had I come to you? Why? Basically, Sala's been real serious. You've never seen Sala yell at Indiana Jones. Like no friendly. Just really being like, why? Death follows you everywhere. And it's a real kind of like he regrets saying that, but he kind of some part means it because remember they went through all that crap in Raiders, all this death and chaos. Death and chaos follows you. Why did I come to you? Why? Why is this our lives? Why did you bring him? That sort of thing. Saul's just yelling at him, and basically Indy kind of snaps back and just kind of tells him the answer. Basically, this is kind of Indiana Jones' kind of midlife crisis, or he reveals kind of the truth to himself. Here he says, well, before Indy reveals that, also, it's like just before he snaps back at him, it's mentioned at some point. This little tip of the head here is that Hastings says, "Oh no, the fountain wouldn't save him at this point anyway." And they both just tell him to shut up, like shut up. Like, and they both snap at him, like it doesn't matter. The fountain, basically, the fountain doesn't matter. Like, forget your stupid obsession. Someone has died. Indy blames himself. He's at his lowest point because it's my fault. He blames himself. He's at an absolute low point. Basically says, This was a vanity adventure, to restore his ego. It was basically he's fully calling himself out on this. It was a vanity adventure. It was to restore my own stupid ego.
Right.
You gave me the opportunity, Sala. I wanted to feel young through the adventure. I wanted. It's been so many years, Sala. I want to. I don't know who I am anymore. Really big emotional stuff for Indiana Jones. And Sala he realizes, oh man, we've never seen each other like this. He kind of goes up to him, he apologizes. They both kind of move past. They both agree, though, in a serious moment, they kind of make a pact to each other. They both agree to get justice for the men that these men have killed.
Okay, really like that.
We're going to get justice, and then we're going to go home with our families. That's the pact. The pact. We're going to bring his widow good news. That's kind of Sala's epic lines. We will bring his widow good news.
Nice. I like that. Okay.
Okay, so now we're at the spring at the top. Here it is, folks. The big moment. It's finally here. The item. We're at the spring at the Fountain of Youth kind of hot springy area at the top. It's a big old kind of well. So Landon observes the fountain. It's close to dry. There's like a little puddle's worth of water there, but in the middle of it, there is the rod. There's the healing serpent, so to speak. The nickname I give it for, because I can't think of any. Because I hate saying rod, because I want to say staff, but staff's inaccurate. Also, we have the staff of Ra, so I have to call it the healing serpent. That sounds cool, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the healing serpent. Yeah, I like that. So
there's the healing serpent right in the middle there. It's like just pointy staff is sticking out of there, and it's like it's covered in the moss, and it's aged. It sense it's aged, but it's like a piece of wood that has not broken yet because it's so sacred and so powerful. So Indy and Sul, they stealth attack the men. Like a few henchmen along with kind of our familiar bad guys here, Quincy and Curtis are behind them. So anyway, they stealth attack the men, and they grab their guns, and they demand that basically in the shadow, like in the trees surrounding this mountain, like a secluded area with trees around it at the top of this mountain. That's the kind of location we're dealing with here. So they're hiding in the trees after they've taken the men's gun. I've knocked out a few of them. They've taken their guns, and they demand surrender. Surrender now, or be shot where you stand. And then you hear Indiana Jones says, they shoot a few henchmen who are reaching for their guns. They just to demonstrate they're not messing around. Last chance. And then Indy says, "Reach that serpent. That serpent belongs in a museum."
Nice, love it.
Again, with kind of an echoey ambiance to it of like you don't see Indiana Jones. They're kind of looking around, and our bad guys looking a little confidently, like, "Where is he?"
Oh,
the whole, that serpent belongs in the museum. And then Quincy kind of nods, again, homaging the moment earlier on with Indy and Hastings, where Quincy nods to the Kurds because now they have a plan, and oh boy, is it going to be a plan. They kind of nod to each other like, you know the plan of attack. We've worked together. You know what to do. Again, like the Bond muscle and the evil James Bond working together. How perverse, right?
Nice, like that, yeah.
So they look towards they kind of deduce where the unseen enemy is from the gunshots, and so they know exactly where Indy and Sala are in those trees. They drop us. One of them, I believe Quincy drops a smoke grenade, so now no one can see. No one can see. Curtis throws a knife at Indy. Indy has like a knife in his. Again, paying off the whole little Williams knife. Now he has his own like personal knife. He tosses it, like it stabs Indiana Jones like in the leg or something, like stabs him right in the leg. He falls out of a tree. He falls right out of the tree. The gun's there. A lot of battles going on. Again, I can't really kind of get into all the action. So we see Curtis at his most like uncivilized, fighting Indiana Jones in the dirt here, because now he's all dirtied up and he's like kind of muddy, because again it's an ancient kind of like it's rained here too, so I think they're all just like. Now we see him at like, this old gentleman spy, like getting really into it. He's like, no more the civilized gentleman. Now he's like Indiana Jones. He's a guy who's all caught up in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
I've admired you, but this has gone long enough. You've embarrassed me. He's so ticked off. As Indy dominates, basically as Indy is dominating this battle. By the way, he's kind of beating them up too. So Indy's winning, by the way, against our spy here, but it's getting really nasty though. Again, he's stabbed him in the leg. Indy's not doing so well physically, but he's winning. Sala hits Q with the gun and just breaks in half. Unfortunately, Sala takes a few hits, and poor Sala, again, remember, he's not doing so well. That's important. Sala during this fight, because remember, classic Indiana Jones characters can die now.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So Sala gets hit a few times, and it's really taking one. He's not a fighter either. I mean, he's a muscle. He's kind of a big, burly guy, but he's not so much like a skilled fighter. Indy breaks, seeing his friend in trouble there, sorry, before that happens, Hastings, he grabs a gun. He shoots. Well, this is awesome. Hastings grabs one of the guns on the ground. He shoots Quincy a few times, and Quincy he's still moving. He's like, oh my god, nothing's taking this guy down. Shoots him a few times. Indy, as he's charging towards Hastings now. So basically, Hastings distracted Quincy from Sala. So he kind of saved Sala there for a bit. He's walking toward menacingly towards Hastings, as Hastings shot him a few times. Indy breaks Quincy's leg with the whip, like, ooh. And he's on the ground. That really does actually hurt him. Like, he's been shot at least 2 to 3 times. Right. Is that a gun broken over his? Let's just say it broken over his head. Oh god, this guy is. You don't take Vinnie Jones down. He is the juggernaut, man. So during this battle, at some point, Curtis fakes to get out of his fight Indiana Jones to why he's free to break Quincy's leg here. Curtis fakes falling off on out, and we see this. So we see Curtis like, whoa, we think, oh, there's an iconic Indiana Jones death. Nope. He's hanging like a vine or something on the side. He makes it look so he can surprise him later on. Makes it look like, oh, we see now he's like really kind of Rambo style. Now he's like in the dirt. He's like all muddy. He's just so ticked off. Okay, so now the gun is drawn on. Now Landon draws a gun. He puts it. The gun is now. Landon draws a gun on Indy and makes sure he stands still as Quincy holds Sala down in the dirt. Poor Sala. He's just like he's been beaten. He's been tossed around. Now he's just like sitting, like standing on him in the dirt. Poor Sala. Landon attempts to sit. He sees Hastings also in the background there, and Hastings before Landon shoots Indiana Jones. I'm sorry, a lot of stuff here. This is like my last minute stuff here. This ending is getting it all out on paper, Mm-hmm. Almost done. Again, more of like an action sequence here. So Landon points the gun at Indiana Jones. Hastings stops him again. Hastings trying to save Indy here. He says, Landon, listen, please. I have to know before you kill any of us here in the dirt. Please. Does it work? I need to know before I die. Does it work? Just see if the rod's. And again, he respects Hastings because he did bring him to this item, and again in this Bondian villain fashion. He tries to satisfy Hastings' kind of last wish here, his desperate pleas to see if the healing serpent works, which is a signal to Indy this is part of a plan. Just saying, Indy knows exactly. Oh, he's planning something here. I know he is. Landon goes into the water. He holds the rod. He's standing in the water. The eyes glow red.
Oh boy.
It's a mossy old wooden thing, so it looks like green like a serpent.
Mm-hmm.
The snake comes alive for a moment and bites him because he's not worthy.
Oh.
Now again, it's only like a little thing. It was basically the mouth, like almost like a mechanical thing, but again, alive for a moment, like the only CG you have in the film practically. It's like, bites him right in the hand, like big fangs, and basically, I didn't want to duplicate the moment from Last Crusade because in Youth and Eternal Life are similar. They're not the same, but they're similar. So I had to go about this a really horrifying way. Here's an Indiana Jones death for you. Bites Landon right in the hand. You see kind of the venom through like purple on his body spread through all of his veins.
Oh god. Okay.
And and it's spreads throughout all his body, and he's like unable to move, and he's terrified, and he's just seeing like he's just baffled like what's happening, and he collapses. He collapses in the water, and his corpse then ages rapidly to like 110. The dead body just ages rapidly. So again, it's not just him turning to dust; it just ages rapidly. The complete opposite of what he wanted. Like age instead of like you making him younger, like 30 years, it ages him like way more than that. So Quincy attacks Jones. Now his boss is dead, and he's not happy about that because again, pays him his money. Quincy goes to attack Jones. Hastings saves Indy with a hidden gun in his back pocket. And you're probably wondering, why does he have that gun? Hidden gun in his back pocket, shoots him. Surprise death. Yeah, save the day. All right. Shoots Quincy right in the back of the head. A battered Indy gives his thanks. He's been through heck here. And again, it's not like he's just going to have Marion kind of dust him off anymore. It's without months in between. Indy goes to the mud. He goes through the kind of the muddy water. He pulls the rod from the water, helps Sala up. It looks like okay. Well, the movie's over, right? Right. Hastings suggests, listen, Indy, we got to share this with the world. Indy makes an argument of like, what happened. Look what just makes a very logical argument. Look what just happened. We can't share this with the world. The man had venom coursing through his. Did you see what happened? Not so many colorful words. I'm pretty much making that argument. Look, it should only go in a museum to inspire people. And this is Indy, kind of his arc is like Indy realized, the items I've gone through all these years, I've always wanted to, have them be studied and put in the museum. But no, this just. No one should look into this. Just have put in the museum and the story of like the discovery of this and the legends. That's all we need. This is all about inspiring people, which is going to be very important for the ending of this film.
Okay.
Inspires people. That's what museums do. It just shows people like, oh my god, all this stuff went into this. Meanwhile, Sala throughout this whole conversation has that little beating thing of tension. Sala's not feeling well. He's really not feeling well. He's sweating profusely. And then the counter argument is this proves it works. That's what are you talking about? This proves it works. He wasn't worthy, obviously. Mm-hmm. Look, this is the key to curing disease, old age, a mythological miracle. Tell me you don't want to try it, to receive your adventures for another lifetime. Tell me you don't want that, Indy. There's a moment of pause. There's Indiana Jones's moment of change, folks. Moment of pause. Indy says, I haven't earned, again, you can assume he's thinking of the death of Short Round that he feels very responsible for.
Of course.
As well. Moment of pause was, I haven't earned that. No one has. We're putting it in a museum to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands, knowingly or not. So again, the idea of anyone who puts it in their hands, knowingly if they're good or bad, innocent people could get hurt with this thing. Mm-hmm. Mostly innocent people. Hastings. So again, Indy's he's walking off. He's he and Saul are about to walk off. Hastings. We have the big Hastings reveal here. Gun is drawn. Indiana Jones. Click. He thought that was my other mother, Mr. Robot moment. He's actually the bad guy of the movie.
Oh God.
I kid you not. Is that too much of a buy or like? Basically, again, it's kind of a logical turn, right?
I don't know. To tell you the truth, at this point, it might be getting a little convoluted.
Well, this is the end. This is the last little. Again, he wasn't going to kill him. He never wanted to kill Indiana Jones. He's not the villain the whole time. He's turning the villainous red because he wants that.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
He's now turning. You saw how obsessed he was with it. Now he's turning villain. You thought he was the Marcus Brody type, and actually he's still threatening our hero at the end here. That's not too much of a buy, right?
No.
Anyway, click. Indy's in shock. Like, what are you doing? Saul is looking very bad. He's very. Let's find out why in a moment. Without my wife, I have nothing but. Basically, without his wife, he has nothing but his obsession. I need this. The world needs this, Indy. Give me the heal. Give me the rod. Give me the healing serpent. He begged, Indy, listen, don't do this. Please don't do this, Phil. Now. Gun drawings that he will shoot Indiana Jones to get this rod. He will. If he has to. Not necessarily kill him, but he will shoot him if he has to. Sala has a heart attack. He's on the ground. He is not doing well. He's advancing years. That was the health problem he was mentioning way back when the first act you forgot about, right? Indy tosses the staff. He tosses the serpent. Tends to Sala as he's trying to stop him from going to cardiac arrest. He's beating on his chest, trying to figure out what's going on. Sala apologizes to Indy. I had a feeling this might be my last adventure. To his friend, they confirmed this might be his last adventure. He took a risk coming out here, and they both knew the risk. You see in the background, you see kind of the glow of the snake, because now Hastings walks into the water. He uses the snake, and it's glowing. It works. It's not killing him. It's a big glowing kind of like moment. Indy terrified of losing Sala, desperate to save him. You see, Indy's just increasing more terrified of losing one of his best friends here. The snake works on Hastings, but he's not younger. He doesn't look any younger, and he's just puzzled. He looks at it. He's puzzled for a moment. Then he sees just the show again. He's not exactly our bad guy, but he is definitely making a wrong choice here.
Yeah, I get you.
Curtis, he sees Indy kind of working on Sala here, but then Curtis is about to kill Indiana Jones from behind. He's so bereft with grief and tending to Sala, he doesn't realize it. Hastings here, Phil, he charges towards him. Indiana Jones has no idea what's going on. He basically tackles him right off the mountain, and they're falling, and he's falling, both falling to their death. One of the tallest peaks in Africa, they're falling way to the ground. In a little bit of an homage to Temple of Doom with the death in that one, they hit falling from a great distance, hitting the thing, and then death. Douglas turns on the mountain to save Indy, so again, his last action was a good one, not a bad guy. Indy reluctantly uses the staff, kind of in a little Last Crusade moment. A little bit. He uses the staff again. He hopes it's going to heal him. He doesn't need to be young. He just hopes it's going to heal him. Puts him in the water. Gives the staff. He is rejuvenated by a few years, so he's maybe like a few years, a few wrinkles are gone, but he's not a young. He's just enough to heal him from death. And he says, importantly, this is the whole lesson here, is that he looks the same, but he feels younger on the inside, and he's very happy. Okay, well, it worked out, so his soul is alive. My best friend's alive. Hooray!
God, I was worried there for a second.
Yep, and then meanwhile, we are at a little moment before the end here. My proud end scene is right after this little moment. We have Short Round's funeral. Indy consoles the widow with the child, widow with child. It's a somber moment. Nothing really needs to be said. Just kind of you can read it all visually. Like Indy's really sorrowfully, consoling her. Anyway, so. And also, he holds Marion at the funeral, too. Marion went to the funeral as well. I didn't put Willie Scott in there. I mean, I don't know. I didn't want to cheapen it,
I
thought
you didn't put Willie Scott.
Do I need to, or do I?
No, I said it's a good thing you didn't.
That's the thing. I didn't want to cheapen it, but yeah. Also, throughout the whole movie, I just want to mention that he was wearing the Yankees baseball cap the whole movie.
Well, yeah, as was he in mine as well.
So I just want to make that clear. Okay, here's the last scene. This is the whole thing I'm most proud of in the whole entire picture. Tiki, you ready? Last scene. Indy shakes hands with the actual Marcus Brody of the film. That was kind of my fun reveal through all of this. Like, we had two fake Marcus Brodys. Here's the real one. I trust you now, Mr. Robots. I trust you now. This is absolutely the real Marcus Brody I'm going for here. He shakes hand with the actual kind of the new owner of Marcus Brody's museum, which they named the Marcus Brody Museum or Institute or whatever, as a little tribute to him after his passing. Played by Stanley Tucci.
Oh, God. Okay.
I called him Lawrence because I couldn't think of anything. That's a little homage to Lawrence Kasdan, so Lawrence Larry or whatever. And he thanks him. He thanks him for his life. Thanks him for his work. He thanks him for his work in the exhibit. And I'm so proud of this moment here. I'm just going to break that. After 5 films, in a very nostalgic and very nostalgic. No dialogue whatsoever in this scene. It's just like all oohs and ahs. That's pretty much it. You nostalgically see the museum. All the items that have made it to the museum over the years, the Indiana Jones films, we see in an awesome exhibit. I'm talking about the Staff of Ra, the tablet from this film, the Spear of Destiny from this film. Importantly, the cross from Last Crusade. A few stones from Raiders that he got in place of the Incan idol.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying like pretty much like also maybe a few homages to the Young Indiana Jones series if they wanted to put that in there. Point is like this whole thing, and we see the students around. The college students, just any average Joe, is observing like Indy's handiwork, and just seeing like, oh man, the oohs and ahs of like, wow, I mean, this is amazing. Look at all this stuff, and finally in an exhibit, like all the stuff he's been put in this museum over the years, finally presented in a really awesome manner.
So the last bit of Indy story is all the stuff that he's acquired over the years has finally ended up in a museum.
Harrison Ford gives a wonderful smile, like looking at these with like a little smile of just such a lovely, minute smile of, I did it. I actually got in the museum. I'm serious. I made it.
I know.
It's in the museum, and I'm inspiring people. I made a difference. Not as Indiana Jones, but just as not as the grave robbing dressed Indiana Jones, but just the Professor Jones. I mean, all he has now is Professor Jones, because as you see, as he reveals, as he walks away, he has a cane. He limps away because again he was stabbed in the leg, and importantly, he did not use the healing scepter because he steps away. There's the staff in the middle that he's looking at. Again, he has conquered his fear of snakes visually. He's looking right at the snake, gives it a smile, and he leaves. And he's kind of the end of Indiana Jones' story and the last image of the entire film. His costume is on display, saying, with all gratitude towards Henry Jones II.
Nice. Love it.
And here's the implication, Tiki. If Disney ever wanted to franchise it or anything, this is the ending of Indiana Jones' story, but all these students that are anyone who walks in this museum, they could be inspired by and be the next one.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I'm saying people inspired to. I'm not saying they have to. I'm just saying the idea. It's kind of like a little bit of like
let's just end it on a high note.
Point is, he's hung up the costume for a final time.
Okay. Dragon, I apologize if I was like silent throughout a lot of your third act because it's very late here and people are in bed, so I don't mean to be like, oh, I'm not addressing this. It's just I kind of have to keep my voice down. But no, man, you put a lot of work into yours, especially with the side characters. That is really something that I honestly think kind of blows mine away, because with me, I kind of had like basic ideas. Like I kind of had like, okay, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is an undercover cop. Chloe Grace Moretz is kind of a hippie girl who's Willie Scott's daughter. Like short rounds in there. Like I honestly didn't really spend too much time actually developing my side characters. You went into a lot of detail. You actually like really, really fleshed them out, and I think that's something you should definitely be proud of. Didn't expect Short Round's death at all. That was a major shocker. Sala, oh my god, man, that emotional moment where Sala is basically calling Indy out about like how death follows him. Wow. That was probably my single favorite moment of your whole pitch right there. That was some powerful stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Really, really good ending. I really love all the full circle stuff you did. The boulder was amazing.
What do you think of it as like a last Indiana Jones story?
No, yeah, absolutely. Like I feel like that's something that I didn't really. I don't know. Like my whole thing was kind of like I left it on a cliffhanger almost. You know what I mean? So it's like.
Well, yeah, I kind of did, but it's just I personally I would like it if this is the last one. I'm just figuring Disney they like the franchise thing, so basically it's somewhat of an open door if they really.
And then Chris Pratt walks in.
That's what. Maybe. my point is like. I'm saying one of two things. Like, if you wanted a framing device for the young Indiana Jones stories, you start in this museum.
Sure,
and it's like maybe a flashback or something, or again, it's just overall, it's like the idea of just
like Indiana Jones is like a Rocky Balboa style, like hardened mentor.
Well, I mean, particularly, I was figuring like actually you were very on the money. I was thinking like they go in the only direction they could take with an excellent ending like that is they go in the Creed direction. They go in the Creed direction. Exactly, other people take up the mantle, or like not the exact. They're not going to put the hat on. I'm saying they're going to be other like. Basically, imagine like a line of Raiders films, like Raiders of this, but they're not, not necessarily Indiana Jones. And Indiana Jones is not in the name because his story's done. It's Raiders. and you get to know new characters.
Okay, I like that.
And perhaps maybe you have an adventure with Mutt Williams involved. Perhaps maybe he's the mentor. They go to him. If Harrison Ford wanted to come back, he'd come back just as Professor Jones, nothing else.
There's not going to be any adventures with Mutt Williams in my Indiana Jones universe.
That's fair. I'm just saying that if anyone wanted to.
Okay. All right, Dragon. I guess, do you have a tease at the final thing we're going to be doing for Indiana August?
Well, speaking of Raiders, there is a fan film, folks. There's a very famous fan film. If you've ever seen The People vs. George Lucas, you've heard of this fan film. This fan film is deemed the greatest fan film ever made, and it's kind of hard to argue with all the time and effort. 7 years worth of time and effort, not including a year to make this the compilation of the making of. It's called Raiders, the story of the greatest fan film ever made. It's basically 3 fans come together of Raiders of the Lost Ark, specifically Raiders of the Lost Ark, not the whole franchise, just the first one, the initial one, the best of, if you will. And it's basically just the story of how these 3 lads came together. They worked on such an undeniably and admirable and admirable passion project of honoring the thing we've dedicated this, well, week to a month, however you want to look at it.
Right.
A few weeks if we've tied stuff into it. So, it's about a historical month. So let's just say a month, this whole month to Indiana Jones. Raiders of the Lost Ark. We're going to be discussing, because there was an excellent commentary. I recommend all of you buy the DVD, but just to show some support if you can. Or just, rent the thing. But again, as a commentary tracks, we're not going to be doing commentary. We're going to be doing a discussion.
Okay. And hopefully I'll be more lively on that than the Death of Superman Lives, because the big problem with the Death of Superman Lives is that it just kind of laid everything out for you, so I didn't really have much to say. So I'm looking forward to that, Dragon. And maybe one day we'll do People versus George Lucas as well. One day, maybe.
Maybe. Yes, maybe.
All right. Well, in the meantime, folks, it's time to seal up the crate, return home, and hang up our hats until the final adventure on Indiana August.
But Tiki, who's going to open the crate eventually? Who's the crate going to? Who's going to look inside the crate?
Jared Leto, Jacob. Jared Leto. And yes, I know I just called you Jacob. I apologize.
What?
I apologize. Top men, Dragon. Top men.